All right, all right, all right.
Do it again.
All right.
Yo, how do you have this stuff ready to go?
You're gonna learn today.
You're gonna learn how I got it. You're gonna learn.
Is this special for this show?
Those wonderful tones means Sketch Zone Podcast is back, and I'm Carlos Gomez.
Yes, you are.
Mm-hmm.
That right there, that's Charlie B. Williams III.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm here. It's gonna be a good show. Let's go.
Oh, Jack Kasperzak.
Yes, I am here. I'm on the
All
sound.
right. You're gonna learn today.
I'm telling you.
I'm telling you.
Oh man. So welcome everyone. As always, we are live, and if you would like to correspond with us live on Twitch or YouTube, go ahead and hit that live chat, and we will address any questions that you have for anyone on the panel as we speak.
I'm gonna address
If you are trying to get a hold of the show off air, you can go ahead and use the Sketch Zone hotline 408-753-8248. That's 748 Sketch 8. Operators are standing by. Oh, if you're trying to get a hold of us internationally, that means outside the US of A. Go ahead and use the Sketch Zone Hotline International.
Would you better go into Telemundo mode?
011 0 1 1 4 0 8 753 8248.
Y para española, primo dos ahora.
I think he had some Japanese in there.
International callers 011 408 753 8248. That's 011 Sketch 8.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, it's gonna be one of those shows.
Welcome,
because
it
it's about
is.
someone.
I'm running on fumes today, so you know that means that some stuff is about to pop off.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Hello,
Hey, how you doing?
welcome back. You know how we start every show.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
We're gonna do the Sketch Zone Fun Prom.
Oh, you want to do that one right away, right off the bat?
Okay.
Let's go up to the campus here and let's get started.
I guess we do.
I believe every day's a good day.
When you paint. That's right, folks. Last week for the Sketch Zone Fun Prom.
I gotta say,
Legit don't do that anymore.
I'm still working on mine. I know y'all are excited to see it.
Wait a minute. What?
I didn't finish it yet. This week got nutty, but I gotta finish the broccoli.
Naughty.
I gotta.
You're
finish
very
the
naughty.
Got him stuttering and everything.
Hey,
What was
Hey.
it? What was it?
this
What was
is no
the-
judgment zone.
What was it?
Isn't this supposed to be
That's-
no judgment zone?
No judgment. Yep.
No Judgment Zone Hotline. That's 408. No Judgment 8.
Way extra.
What was it? What was it last week with the broccoli? I know what to do.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Oh, I forgot. Yeah.
That's why I gotta finish it because it was a good one.
No judgment here. Just like
Ask the broccoli what to do when it's trying to get a hold of us outside of business hours.
You know what I thought of?
I know what to do.
You know what I thought
Sketch
of?
Zone Hotline 408.
People are not gonna call
Stuff I
just
threw?
because of this.
Because of this now. Yeah. You know, though,
Broccolis are standing by.
with that broccoli you drew, you know you can have like a really, really close up picture. You know when somebody throws a light on the bottom of their face and they're uplit?
Mm-hmm.
That could be another t-shirt.
Just on the broccoli.
And it just says repent.
That'd be a fun show.
We should just do it like on
Repent.
like Kanye sweatshirts or something like that. It's just something weird, just like real minimalistic. It just says repent.
Would they
in
be?
red
Would they
letters.
be? Would they be known as Beezies? Kanye and broccoli.
Okay.
Beezies.
Okay.
Give me the crickets.
I don't even know if they have them anymore in this thing.
I
don't think
killed
we can
them.
get to them. I
The
literally
crickets
don't
are
think
like,
we
you
do
do not pay me enough for this.
I don't think they have.
They
I
don't pay
think
over
Google
$7.
doesn't like them anymore. It took them out. Oh, you
I
found
got
them.
some. I got some. I got some.
All right, let's go ahead and get through this. Sketch on Fun prompt last week was something has gone bad in the fridge. Yet again, thank you, Tony Cartoonish. That's Instagram.com/Tony Cartoon-ish. It was his idea to have this prompt, and let me tell you,
It was a good
It was a
one.
good one. No, it's a really good one.
There's a lot of people kicked in for this one. So let's go ahead and take a look. There is broccoli. I know what to do.
I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna get it up here.
Yours truly with the little Grand Theft cap.
He knew what to do.
Mm-hmm. Yo, that broccoli.
Snatch
Did
it.
you
That broccoli
intend,
family's wild.
did you intend the pun,
What do
or
you
did
mean?
it just decapitated?
Decapitated?
Did you
I
do that?
did not, but I like it.
Nice.
I mean, yes, that was on purpose.
that was on purpose.
What's the coconut do? Goal!
He's got his hands up. He doesn't want to get hurt
Oh, there's a robbery in progress.
because there's a coconut justice.
What did he steal?
He should have been the cop.
He's got a bag of tomatoes.
Oh,
And
he's just
he
stealing the dude's caps.
Capitated the ketchup. Mustard is struggling through.
Mm-hmm. That's his boy.
G Lowry illustration. Instagram.com/G Lowry illustration. Graham.
Instagram.
Graham be coming in hot and heavy. Little.
Used by 2014.
I don't know about you,
Done.
but
It's done. It's not milk anymore. It's yogurt.
I hope that's evaporated at this point.
something definitely has gone bad. Oh,
Ooh,
speaking
look
of
at
Tony
that.
Cartoonish,
Look at this. Look at the
See-
rendering skills.
Did he have this already done? And he's like,
Hell yeah, he did.
that's
probably.
I got some artwork that I did back in 2014. I'm just gonna show that off real quick.
Yeah.
On my hard drive. I know.
No, he is ready. But yeah,
very
Love
cool.
Rendering. No, it's
Tony.
awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
Tony. We like it.
No,
it's Mr. Tom kicked in with a little.
bad onion.
I don't know if that little spot on his eye is intended there, but I like
I
it.
think so because he's got the sketch down below, and it also has something there.
Oh yeah, look at that.
I love how he shows the sketches and stuff. He's like got the whole behind the scenes shot.
He's
going,
just
like,
showing off.
like he like look at the watercolor
He's got
swatches
little
in
like
the background.
swatches. Those
Look
are
at him
props.
showing off. He's got
like-
cool things like an eraser.
He's like, just so you know, this is watercolor. We don't do markers in this household.
We don't do digital.
Those aren't even his paints.
Right.
He went to the art store and put his drawing there. And
This is a Blick art ad that he photoshopped.
what's happening?
Abowitz.
Bad milk.
Bad milk, just milking all over.
Oh, that's the refrigerator.
Oh,
back
that's the refrigerator. Refrigerator kicked the milk out.
Damn.
Because the milk
like,
is
so
bad.
get the hell out of here.
Get out of here. What you know about eviction?
I wish we.
You
I
don't
wish,
like your kind.
man, look at this evil carrot.
Maestro,
That is-
please.
I would love to do that in
Carrot
3D.
is not.
Yeah, that would be a
good
cool
3D
3D
one.
character.
That'd be a good 3D good one.
Yeah.
Just that whole
got
scene.
that
You got the
little
whole scene right there. Yeah.
What is he growing on
Instagram.com.
his head?
Yo, I don't know what
Oh.
that is. Is it like?
It's something nasty.
Is it like
Either mold or
corn? Is it corn?
what is that? The fish eggs?
Ooh, caviar. He's got that on him.
Got a little
Look,
caviar.
look on the side. It's like got a
Freaky,
little.
It's a sexy time.
Darkest-
A little caviar, a little milk.
Yo,
Mm-mm.
Jack don't like that because it's the face you're making right now.
Mm-mm.
You're like, no, thank you. Mm-mm.
I am a mutant.
Maymer. Let's find out what this.
Myanmar?
Merce. Merce, MERCE. All of a sudden, my
What up, Merce? Merce.
yep, this is good. There's some
Merce.
cheese, a little mold in it. Ain't nothing wrong.
That
Ain't
might
nothing
be
wrong with a little moldy cheese.
that
Just
might
get
be
on
intended to be that way. Some blue cheese.
Merce.
blue
Maybe it's
cheese.
an impersonator.
What up,
This
Merce?
one is hilarious. Thank you, drawn by Sean.
Oh, he got sick.
Refrigerator.
Oh, you
Refrigerator's pooping ham.
yeah, that's so weird. Probably hurt.
Mm,
Just yacked all over his front. Great job, drawn by Sean. Let's take a look. We got Joan illustration.
Whoa, these demon eggs coming out of here.
Zombie beans.
Uh-oh.
Dare I say zombies?
Ah.
There we go. Take that, crickets. Dare 1127 chiming in. Got a big ass octopus coming out.
Yo, it's the Monopoly dude.
Yeah, and his dog. They're about to go fight some demons and some octopus. And
Yo, we got to get over
With a squeegee and a mop. I like that.
Mm-hmm. We gonna clean you
All
today.
right.
nice.
That's it, y'all.
I like
Well
it.
played. Fun prompts.
Probably fun. Probably good time.
What's the no theme music to close it out?
No,
Oh,
you
no.
gotta call the new
We
one.
got to my fault.
Mm.
Oh, we got some folks, live listeners. If you guys, whoever picks a number between 1 and 5 first, we're going to go with that number. So go ahead and type in the live chat. You got about 3 seconds. Otherwise, Google will chime in.
We'll get you. Google's gonna get
No,
you.
for real. There are people watching live. Just they might.
No, for real.
No, for real.
They
I'm
might-
totally
they might be
serious.
sleeping. All right. Do you guys? Hey, Google.
Oh, we got one right there. We got one. They put
Landon. Way to save. Hey, Google, quit. Landon,
Stop talking.
quit. Thank you for chiming in. Landon Wilson.
Thank you, Landon.
He said 3. 3 is a situation.
Situation.
Mm. I don't know about
Let's
this.
see where we go with a situation.
I'm okay.
We should one day just draw the situation. Oh,
No, you shouldn't.
Is it good?
situation. It might be.
It might
You
be.
guys let me know if you guys want to draw a dog attack.
All right.
I'm good with that. I'm good with a dog attack.
I like how Jack doesn't even get like.
That's
phased.
that's unusual.
So
I know.
dog attack. And,
I was thinking to myself, if I have to draw another wizard or
Well, you could draw a wizard dog attacking.
other wizard dogs.
yeah,
What was the thing?
Other wizard cats.
or another, not for anything, like I do enjoy it. If DaCosta's listening, I'm sorry, but I'm about tired of drawing robots.
Yo,
Oh,
DaCosta.
you went and made a comment. You went and made a comic called
Pinterest game is mean, DaCosta.
Yeah.
Slacking.
Which is hilarious because my comic is called Robots and Aliens.
At least it's not robots and dog wizards. Then you'd really be screwed.
Dog wizard.
Then I would be sad. So thank you, Mr. Landon Wilson.
What's a fun prompt?
Fun prompt is a dog attack.
Let's go up to the canvas here
Yes.
and let's get started. I believe every day's a good day when you paint.
You paint.
I believe it.
Dog attack.
I believe it.
That's all we do is make each other laugh.
Mm.
Now I have
Dog
to-
attack. Dog attack.
Dog attack.
Make it good.
Figure out what I'm gonna draw.
You should do like dog. I'm telling you, like dogs versus cats, like Power Rangers style.
Army dogs.
I want to do a robotic dog that does magic.
Didn't you
There you
just
go.
say you tired of doing robots?
Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah. I almost feel like you didn't realize what you thought.
No, I knew exactly what I was saying. I was hoping someone would pick up on it.
Mm.
Oh, hey.
Mm.
So I remember
What's up?
back when we were younger,
Okay.
Jack and I were both in LA, and we're sitting back eating some cheese and drinking some wine and getting all philosophical and deep.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so Landon says, sweet, I guess I have to do this one now that you used my number.
There he goes.
Landon, not for anything, but you should do all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So back to the story. We're drinking some wine, and Jack and I were talking about the future of entertainment.
Ooh, wow, you guys are.
Yeah, we go deep, and we don't even need illegal substances for that. That's just we have deep, meaningful conversations. But so one of the things that I thought maybe he was high was we talked about how one day you're going to be able to watch any kind of movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be able to put in your favorite actors to play the different parts. And I thought he was crazy.
Oh, okay.
And then all of a sudden we see a link that talks about, where did it go? This link talked about, now that I'm lost, it talks about putting in different people into your different movies. So right now they're working on adding Nicolas Cage to just a handful of movies that they're trying to do. Does that make sense?
It uses machine learning, so it uses really smart computer stuff. Basic computers are doing our job that we've been trying to do ourselves, and now they're able to composite people's faces in movies way better than us. But you know what did this first before the whole people making face off every movie? It started, you know who trailblazes a lot of this stuff? It's the porn industry. Because they showed up with them first. So they were using the same learning. Go ahead.
Plus they have a ton of money to put into research.
Different stuff, right? Yeah, and they were putting in famous actresses. I think they did Gal Gadot first, Wonder Woman.
Yep.
And they put her in
That's a good one.
Bunch of different scenes. And it was like uncanny how it looked, looked kind of real and freaked everybody out.
Oh, so you watched it, huh?
Huh? I watched a news story on E.
The censored version?
On E about it. But the one thing about it though is that if you know how everything now in the media gets pushed by the hashtag or pushed by like slogans on the net, and the big thing now I guess is they're using the word deep for all this like machine learning
porn
compositing, if you want to call it, so it's usually deep fake or deep something, and that's usually means that they're using this program that they've been using, which I haven't heard much about the actual program. It seems shrouded in, I don't know, we need to do more research. I don't know if it's available to everybody or if it's like open source or what they're using or how it's being done. Every time I read about it, it's always, I'll just hear machine learning and whatever the program, but I don't know how they're actually doing it. Did you guys hear more about it? Because even in that article you guys sent in the chat, it was like, it was vague on what the program was actually doing or how they were actually doing it.
I mean, I think there's a lot of different programs. I think this whole verbiage of deep learning is more of just like a generic term in a way, because all these what do you call them? The neural networks are kind of taken off. Like there's all these things that you can plug in data and get something else based on something that it has learned. And then Google has the deep learning voice recognition where they were swapping and getting people to say things they never actually said. And then obviously they debuted their facial recognition software and stuff like that. So I don't necessarily think it defines a specific technology, rather just kind of the class of technologies, because there's a bunch of different ways to do this type of thing. But what I gather is it's analyzing, you feed it a bunch of data of of Nick Cage, and it analyzes all his different faces, and it corrects it, or analyzes the points, and then you can basically feed it a source image that's not him, and it will still make it look like him.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Like, this is just some program that the person wrote. This is just a bunch of internet programming nerds that like have this system that you can feed all these different profiles and pictures of Nick Cage, and they just pick the movie and then just wait for it to analyze it over a couple of days, and then it spits out the movie with his face replaced on all the different actors. Is that what it is, or that's what
I'm not entirely sure. I think it's a kind of a conglomerate, group effort of different softwares. I don't think it's just like a single thing that just does it. I think it's.
Go ahead. Keep going.
No. Go.
Lagging. Keep going. What'd you say?
Nothing. Keep going.
Oh no. Sorry. No. I was just gonna say, they also did it for they redid the last scene of Star Wars with Carrie Fisher.
Mm-hmm.
And the deep version looked way better.
Looked better than the ILM version?
Yeah, than the 3D version that they did.
Oops.
It kind of looked similar, but it looked a little bit softer and a little bit more set in, to the scene. So I thought that was like interesting also.
Well, okay, but that's an interesting one, because what did they use as the source image? Did they use the footage from the movie? Because that already had their composite in there, right? So
right. They said they used a bunch of images of her face.
Well, yeah. For the source. That's how they build. You build this sort of source library, like the Nick Cage stuff. It analyzes a bunch of different videos of him and photos of him, but then you feed it something that's not him, and it basically swaps it on. But in the Star Wars case, I would think the only footage the public would have access to is the movie, which is not her. It's a CG version of her, but it's her, and then you're updating her with different photos. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah,
it seems like they're just compositing only the face onto onto the actor or actress. And I say actor or actress because they have, in that link that I posted in our chat, as well as the live YouTube chat, there's a bunch of examples, and they have where Superman is walking into a bathroom, and it's obvious there's a young lady in the bathtub, but the young lady has Nicolas Cage's face superimposed on her body. And they have like what is this? The Terminator 3, where the dude is made out of molten metal and blah blah blah.
I like
there's a lot of really cool examples. Yeah, so it looks like you can probably pull this off with a really cool plugin and After Effects.
Yeah, if it's not there yet, it's coming quick.
And then I don't know, we've talked about this on the show before, but Adobe has this speech recognition software that they showed off that they can basically take, what was it, like 40 hours of speech of someone talking, and they can then recreate, and they could just type in there something that they want any one of us to say, and it would take our voice and adjust it and actually say exactly what it is that they're typing in there. So the reason why Adobe wants to create something like that would be if you're doing, there's a lot of voiceovers and stuff that you see, like if you go to the movies and you see an R-rated movie and then you watch it on TBS, which is a network here that likes to take movies and license them, and then they play the hell out of them. But you can't have certain language when you're
Mhm.
when you're playing the made for TV version of these movies. And so you always see that like the voiceovers are always just a little bit off or something sounds weird. Now
Yeah,
you can do yeah. Now you can do all of that and not have to bring the actor back in to do all the voiceover work. All of that stuff is just redone. So it makes sense to do that. But then you have evil people who can't be trusted, and that's where you start getting into a lot of really goofy things.
Yeah, fake
So-
political videos or propaganda or whatever, you know.
Or,
Right.
Yeah. I caught them doing this, and they like
Mm-hmm.
it was already grainy, but
Right.
at the right time you can make out whoever it was. Now you can really composite them and get them.
Right.
Catch them in something.
And it just falls into this whole fake news narrative that's happening right now, which is silly. But so yeah, there's really cool technology that's being used incorrectly. But we can say the same thing about Photoshop, because you see Donald Trump hugging.
Right.
I was going to say you see Donald Trump and his parents hugging Klan members, but that's actually a lot of real pictures came out. Okay, so that's a bad
Wait,
example.
what?
Yeah.
I missed that one this week.
No, there's a lot of pictures that are going around with horrible Photoshop done to them, where it's like Trump is hanging out with people that are known Klan members, but then there's pictures that are actually real where he's hanging out with white supremacists that are actually real. So anyway, moving on. So yeah, with great responsibility or great technology comes a lot of responsibility, and there's a lot of folks that don't care. They just want to do their own thing and do bad things. But that kind of leads into this conversation again, where you have the ability to take someone's face and drop it into any given situation.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have a video that's showing cool. It could be cool stuff, but it could also be bad stuff. Cool stuff would be like, how cool would it be to have, Fred Astaire be on Stomp the Yard or something?
Random mashup. Hey.
Fred Astaire be stomping his ass up.
No. It's just Fred Astaire crumping at the end of the movie.
So yeah, this is Jack's visions are actually coming to life now.
I mean, as an actor or a voiceover artist or somebody who does this for a living, I mean, this is pretty kind of detrimental in a way. I mean, if you don't have to pay somebody for their retakes, or you don't have to pay somebody at all. I mean, like, what are the limitations of this? Like, can you just put Nick Cage in your movie without any repercussions? I mean, I'm assuming as long as you don't claim he's actually in your movie, then, and it's bizarre. I don't know. This is going to be like, do we own? I don't think there's laws in the books that really say we own the rights to our own likeness right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Don't they say you can't use your likeness and whatever? Isn't that like verbiage that gets used already?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about that, but I'm sure this crosses all sorts of other legal and moral boundaries of that.
Yeah, you're right.
Not to mention, at what point does an actor, and I'm looking at it as an actor would, if I play a part on a movie, or my likeness is there, and you continue to make these types of movies where you can drop me in, at what point am I going to stop getting paid? Because I have to get paid,
right,
for all of these movies,
right. Or at what point, is the movie studio allowed to say, fine, you don't want to do the sex scene or the whatever scene, we're just gonna
We got
do
you.
it anyway.
Yeah.
Get your digital
Yeah.
double in there and put your face on the digital double. It's already looks like you anyway.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's going to be some interesting legal catching up to technology in the next 10 years.
Mhm.
And that's the thing about these laws that people have a tendency to forget. Laws are made to be fluid, so they can adjust the same way that society adjusts.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That's why you're allowed to make amendments, and you're allowed to change the rules, and you're allowed to do all that stuff because,
Right.
look at prohibition, for example. There was at one point someone was like, well, there's a lot of people drinking and that's not good for you, so we're going to go ahead and make it illegal. And people were like, no. So then they changed the rules, and then they changed the rules back because people were like, no, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes off. Like, right now we're superimposing people's faces on different actors. My brain automatically goes to, at what point are we going to be able to matrix into a movie, and we're going to be able to star in these movies?
Mhm.
I think that's not far behind with the rate at which AR VR is expanding. I mean, if you start combining all of these technologies,
Right.
Be ridiculous.
Speaking of, I don't know how many sci-fi nerds are listening out there, but if y'all read Altered Carbon, which
What
is
is it
on
on?
this same topic, well, it's not the same topic, but it's a sci-fi book. Morgan? Richard Morgan. They just made it into a Netflix series, and it premieres tomorrow. So the premise of that one is, it's so far in the future that we have figured out how to download human consciousness, or your human, your soul or your identity or whatever, however you want to describe what makes you. We figured out how to download that on what they call a stack, and they can install it in a new host body. So basically nobody ever dies, and they just you can get put in purgatory. Like if you're sentenced to punishment for a crime or something, they can put you in purgatory and basically in a library, and then they can pull you back in 100 years or something. So the whole premise is all of these people living for hundreds of years in new bodies and stuff.
They were saying they were able to do that. There's things people are claiming to be able to do that now.
What do you mean?
That same premise that what you just said. Like, I know it sounds weird, and I don't know. They were calling it sleeves, the body sleeves, or something like that.
Yeah, that's actually, I think, what the book calls it, sleeve.
Yeah,
Sleeve.
it was weird because I watched another podcast. They were talking about it, and one of the other guys brought that up among other things. I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool," but it sounded like some Black Mirror type stuff because they referenced Black Mirror. But he was like, "No, this is an actual article I've been reading." And I was like, I meant to look it up tonight, and it's funny you brought it up. So I'm glad you brought it up because I was like, "What article did you really read?" Because it don't even sound like that's real. I was like, I think you might have been reading. I think he might have been reading a Netflix promo because that don't even sound real. But when he said sleeves, I was like, okay, cool. I don't know what that. I don't know. I have to check it out. But that sounds really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think the little bit I've seen of the teasers and stuff is.
You know, another good Netflix one. I'm gonna have to watch.
I think it looks like it could be pretty good. They're keeping bodies in freezer bags in the freezer, and they pull them out and install a new personality. It's crazy.
You get a better body than before.
Mm-hmm.
You get a fat body or skinny body.
Oh, well, actually, in the book, in the opening scene, he gets killed, and then they put him in a female body for part of it.
Wow.
Because the main character is this kind of hitman action star kind of guy that's kind of sent on this mission to do something. So Yeah, it's an interesting
Yo,
concept.
this is an actual thing. Hold on. Let me send you this article. Is this it? A new startup wants to transfer your consciousness to an artificial body so you can live forever. Yo, this was a thing he was reading. Oh, that's crazy.
They're working on it.
Hold
Oh
on.
yeah, they're definitely working on it.
There's a website, Science Alert, Popular Science. It was on. It's on TechCrunch. Hold on. Human. Oh, I don't find it. I'll find it and send it to you guys. That is ridiculous. Redonkulous. I thought you. When the technology is fully developed, we'll implant the brain into an artificial body. Bocanagra explained to Popular Science.
So they're still just talking about preserving a brain, right?
No, they're talking about downloading the consciousness to a new body.
Oh, okay. So it is,
to a preserved brain or whatever. Their artificial body functions will be controlled with your thoughts by measuring brain waves. As the brain ages, they'll use nanotechnology to repair and improve cells. Cloning technology is going to help with this too.
That's where it's going to get crazy. And there's some folks out there that are working on it real hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's so crazy.
That will bring all sorts of crazy laws and confusion. I just don't even know.
You're gonna have some rich guys and stuff like that have like compound under his house with like thousands of like perfectly preserved bodies ready for him to just
have a 3D printer, so every time something goes wrong, he'll just be able to go in there and like Tony Stark his way through life. Like, oh, I just snapped my leg. Go in there, his leg comes off, gets plugged into a new one.
Actually, somebody I work with has this. I don't know how firmly she believes it, but she has this kind of sci-fi-ish theory about like kind of what consciousness is, and that the brain is effectively like a parasite, and that it's using our bodies to survive, and its goal is to create, further, always continually advance how long it can survive. So building AIs and robotic things is the natural next step, is the next best advancement from a biological organic body. And so we're basically going to transfer our consciousness to machines because it's the next best thing. And then who knows what'll be after that.
Right.
Yeah. Once we get into machine bodies, we're going to be able to leave the planet.
Yeah. I mean, bodies will be maybe not indestructible, but certainly replaceable, and
definitely can weather a long trip, no problem, without eating.
Right.
Unless you have Taco Bell, and then that's just a party.
This is up your whole inside.
And then it's just a party.
Oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, burning hot.
So let's talk about an animation. I don't know if they ever got into AR VR, but I think something is moving in that direction. Who wants to talk about Moonbot Studios?
I am unable to find true confirmation of their current situation, but I had no idea that they effectively closed their doors back in late 2016. They closed down the studio.
That early?
Yeah.
Yep.
They closed down the studio. They wrapped things up, but then they started regathering funding, and they were going to reopen in Shreveport. I don't know if it was the same building or anything like that. And then I can't find the result of that. Their website's still active, but there's nothing.
Yeah.
But there's nothing new. The Twitter hasn't been updated since 2016. Stuff hasn't been updated. So as far as I know, they disappeared, kind of weirdly. but it's kind of hard to find info about it.
Yeah, and then when you link that to the group chat this week, I did some more digging, and I found that Shreveport Post or whatever, the main news source there, was posting the articles they were posting on their newspaper, and they were talking about how they had a layoff, and how the jobs that are gone are going to be affecting the city. 200 or 300 people, studio or something like that, or 200 man studio, something like that. And the only bit of press release was that one of the guys that started it was still going to be like in charge of the studio, but they didn't give any really information, and that like the people who were laid off were under NDA and couldn't talk about what happened to the company. And if they did talk, it was going to be that would sever their
fire and brimstone.
That would sever their severance that they got. So it would mess with their severance. So that's how they got people not to say anything. But when you do something like that anyway, people still talk. They just go anonymous, and then they do the whole.
But like that's a weird thing to do. Like what would be so secretive, or that you would need to like hold their severance in contingent.
So,
like what is the secret? Like, this is bizarre.
So that's how far the post got. So then I dig deeper, and one of our favorite sites that we like to read here on the show, Cartoon Brew, right? We see a lot of cool animation stuff. Cartoon Brew was reached out by former members of the studio allegedly, and they used the whole client privilege or whatever, kept them anonymous, and they told Cartoon Brew what happened, as long as they weren't released who they were. And they said, according to Cartoon Brew, allegedly, that that they got bought out by a startup in Florida. And then more people came out to Cartoon Brew and pretty much confirmed from former employees that you had the option of staying and moving to Florida to go work with Magic Leap, or to take the severance.
Possibly Magic Leap.
Possibly Magic Leap. Was this according to Cartoon Brew sources?
They're assuming. Yeah, they're assuming that it's.
They're assuming, yeah.
Which would be amazing, because imagine
swallow them up.
Imagine having the Magic Leap hardware, and you're actually going through some of the animations and stuff that was coming out of Moonbot.
Well,
so, Morris Lesmore and all those. Imagine being in that library when all those books are flying around. How cool would that be?
But so
taking that animation talent, animators.
What was? I mean, I know that I know that Magic Leap had a relationship with Moonbot. That early on, that they were, I don't know who was partnering with who and who. Obviously, there was some involvement. I mean, is the implication basically saying that Magic Leap was absorbed?
Yes.
Moonbot, but like not legally, or why is? I just don't understand.
Like the owners sold the studio,
right?
And then one stayed on, right, as to help run it, and then they got absorbed into Magic Leap in Florida,
right?
Or Magic Leap just straight up bought them,
bought them, right?
You can't say anything,
right?
Which would be consistent. It'd be consistent with
because of how quiet, how secretive they are, anyway. Yeah,
right.
If they're working on something good, going along with the launch of Magic Leap, and they needed that animation talent, and those talents anyway, they just want to absorb all the studio and move them on down to Florida, and so you need to keep quiet because of what you'll be working on, because that type of press is the press they don't want yet, because I think people will be all over that press if they actually like announced it, and then all over all the old stuff they did and stuff like that. So maybe they had like other projects, like I was saying, like in the works, or other like stop motion stuff, other like really cool. They're like a mini Leica, if you will,
Yeah.
In terms of like all the cool physical animation they do along with the digital stuff. It could be work. It could be some augmented stuff,
Yeah.
It goes along with the augmented
Weird.
reality stuff. So yeah, that's the alleged thing until we hear
Weird.
You know what's gonna happen? It's gonna be some keynote, Apple something, Magic Leap keynote. Then all of a sudden you're gonna see that one of those owners. We're like, wait a minute, I know who that is. I've seen this before. And we're like, they did get absolved. Or absorbed.
That's another thing. Like with all of these huge companies that need to continue to make money, the Apple, someone like Apple buying a content creator makes sense.
Right. Oh, totally.
Yeah. So speaking of that, I know for a fact, through artist friends and stuff like that, that Apple, based off just being in the AR game and the VR stuff, that Apple was 100% recruiting, actively been recruiting since last year. People further than last year, probably, right? Game development people and AAA studio people. I had another buddy, another artist that I had hired as a freelancer. He went out and interviewed with them in the last couple months, like December, because they're still building out their team. And when I found out some of the people they had on their team already, there's this new from a couple other buddies who used to work at EA. They got some really heavy hitters that used to be at a lot of these AAA game studios. And what they want now is, you know how Apple usually shows off a product? They did it for the last, when they showed off Apple's AR pipeline. It was Peter Jackson studio doing stuff in Unreal. Well, I think the new move that Apple wants to do is like, if we want to push AR Kit and be the number one provider of AR, platform, they basically want to do what Unity and Unreal and all these other companies do. They want to have the best looking stuff with their tech instead of partnering with a lot of people. I think they'll still partner with people, but like in the keynotes and stuff, because my buddy interviewed for that team that will be making these demos for those Apple keynotes,
Right.
And they but they wanted to be in-house. So Apple has an in-house team that'll do it now. And the level of like quality that you have to hit, because Apple.
And what's crazy is with for those folks that don't really follow American politics, congratulations. Keep doing what you're doing. However, the president right now has given a lot of these has offered a lot of tax breaks that ends up being really good for the larger companies like the Apples and Microsoft and everything. So one of the good news items from all of this political blah 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 political talk is that Apple is bringing back in billions with a B of dollars, and they're building new campuses and blah blah blah, all that good stuff. So they're doing that, they're bringing it in, and this is what becomes exciting for content creators is Apple has been trying to figure out how to make content because they want to deliver all this stuff on your Apple devices or your Apple TV or whatever. So now you have billions of dollars, and it's quite possible that they're going to start their own Apple Media
right, totally.
service or content, whatever. And they're already doing it. They already have stuff like carpool karaoke exclusively on iTunes and all this other stuff. So, and they have what is that? Revenge of the App or some whatever that goofy show is that they have, where you have it's kind of like Shark Tank, but but with apps. You have to pitch an app, and if the people like it, by the time you get down to the bottom of the escalator, then you get funding for your app, and there you go. So anyway, it would be really cool to see if Apple did get into media, or they are getting into it, if they're going to be spending those billions of dollars to build creative teams. That would be really neat.
I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't, to be honest. I mean, and we know that Apple's always been in this stuff for the long game. You know, they invent a piece of hardware or a piece of software with the intent of that it's going to grow into something larger later. I mean, I think Apple TV was kind of the first step in that, and then, you know, obviously iTunes has evolved, and there's been rumors of, you know, Apple streaming service and all that stuff. So I don't see why they wouldn't, you know, produce their own content. I mean, it seems pretty logical.
Mm-hmm.
So now we get to talk about other small creative agencies that are pushing the envelope when it comes to creating new outrageous technology and experiences and stuff like that. The company that Charlie works for got nominated or was voted. What was it, Charlie? The number one
marketing agency. We get looped, since we're an agency, we get looped into a bunch of different agencies type rankings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For experiential marketing, it's an agency thing, and this is like our second number one. We've had a couple different ones. We started really our marketing guy at work started really like putting all of our stuff out there and throwing us in the loop with a bunch of big agencies. And
nice.
The last year, I would say, when we started getting like number one and like having to go take pictures and all this other stuff as a studio. So it's been really, really cool, because I think that's one of the things that Next Now didn't do at first, and they just really started doing it. And then like as soon as you start, you have to submit your name to a bunch of these places and get on the list so people know who you are and stuff like that. Then they start looking at your work and they start reviewing it, doing all this stuff. And we start applying for award shows and doing case studies and all this other stuff. Because in my field now, the big thing after we do all this crazy technology and all these really cool events is you have to make an amazing case study. Mm-hmm. The case study is kind of like your reel, you know. Mm-hmm. It's all about the case study. It's all about the user experience, how many users you got, how good the experience turned out, and all that good stuff. So we made all these case studies, cut all these videos together, made them look good, explained their process, and we started submitting them to awards and stuff. Like in the first year that we did it, which was last year, 2016 going into 2017, and then 2017 we did it. We won like 6 awards, and then like 2 or 3 of them we got for like our big clients like McDonald's, Under Armour, Trek. We got first place. So that means Alan and our other business development guy went out to not LA, but it was all these awards usually in like Vegas and stuff like this. Mm-hmm. And they got number 1. So it was like crazy. You had to do all these talks, and it was a little overwhelming. And we keep getting stuff in now. And now the sites are picking us up, and all the event marketer magazines and all these other like agency type magazines and stuff are picking our stuff up, and we keep hitting number 1. Nice. So it's really nice. It's really nice. That's just like a lesson in like putting yourself out there, you know, and then like, sure, you know, because, you know, sometimes companies just get so used to like working, and then we realize that we got a lot of cool stuff that we're doing. We should like show it off, and you know? So yeah.
Did you think that you're ever going to be working at a company like Next Now?
No, I didn't think I would do the agency thing at all. I think the one time a couple years ago while I was teaching, after we transitioned into teaching, I did a talk for a good buddy, Chad, who we had on the show before. Chad, what's his last name? Carlos Murdoch? Not Murdoch. Always forget his last name. You worked with him at ARC.
Oh, Mershak.
Mm-hmm. He called me into Leo and to give a talk to his team about optimization with real-time rendering and stuff like that. And I was really nervous about that. and did a big, huge presentation and like was up late and trying to make sure my PowerPoint made sense and trying to condense down, the notion of like 3D and how to optimize your stuff in like a hour and a half thing. And I thought I would never be in one of these big, huge agency buildings. It was so weird, to be there. It was cool, but it was like, I always thought those were for like graphic designers or like, the Gil Perez's that we know and all those other guys.
Sure.
And even you with the programming backgrounds and stuff like that. Never thought I would be in one of those places. And didn't even know anything about experiential marketplace or anything like that and what that industry was. I knew of the industry just from like going to cool events and being like, you always think like, well, who does this camera mapping stuff? Or who does these crazy cool hologram type experiences and stuff like that? Who does all those things? I never thought of being there. So it's totally awesome that I'm able to do that now.
Mm-hmm.
It was the best of both worlds. Yeah.
And since it's kind of a relatively new and emerging industry, like there aren't really schools that are dedicated to this yet. No. There aren't really. So how are they getting talent and recruit? Because I know like when visual effects first started up, it was kind of like, hey, you know how to operate a computer, you know how to make a cube, you're hired. And then it's like all these guys just sort of got absorbed into this industry. Is it like that, or are they still looking for? Are they pulling and plucking?
You're definitely plucking and pulling people from different industries, and it's a hodgepodge of different ones. But there are some some schools that kind of teach it, and what it is, it's in the same vein as like at a liberal arts school, right? As like one of the big normal state schools or whatever, where you have like these degrees that are called. Sometimes you have emerging technology degrees, you have new media design degrees, where they're taking a bunch of different stuff. And to us, it just sounds like a generalistic degree, right? You're a generalist. Yeah. But like I got a couple guys at work that went to school to like Northern Illinois University, couple Southern Illinois University, where like they went for programming, they went for computer science, but they kind of veered into this because of by way of Unity or by way of C++ or C# programming that lends itself. One of our old directors of technology that used to work there got really into like, the music scene and music festivals. And then that leads itself to like live show type work, which gets into like lighting and LED lights and like what that takes to be behind the scenes. Those guys, if you ever been to a festival like Coachella or somewhere like that, where you have the sound stage guys and you have the media center rigs that's doing all the LEDs and like the screens on stage behind bottom. That kind of stuff is like programming mixed with electrical work, mixed with having a little bit of like technical side of like working with Arduinos and stuff like that, So like from the programming side, you definitely just computer science and like you kind of veer off into like experimental stuff, which I see it from a lot of liberal arts colleges and the regular colleges. From the art side of things, it's a lot harder, only because there's no real study for it, like you're saying, but you pull from different agency type backgrounds. So we have like a senior designer at our work that does a lot of agency work, right? She was an art director at a lot of different places, but now she's a senior designer here because she got tired of being at an agency that farms out this work to other people, right? So she knew about it through that, right? Next Now has been around for about 7 years or so. Other companies in the city kind of do the same thing we do. It's been around for that long. So like, let's say it's like a 7-8 year thing. And before that, the agencies, the big agencies like would find like specialty studios or do them in-house for shows and stuff. Like I said, a lot of the stuff we do came from like the convention and like live show type industry, and then people made subsets from that. But I'm finding as a creative director now that it's very hard finding talent in general. Like I think I'm set to go to my first work trip in like 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm going down to Savannah College of Art Design. And they have Savannah's known for having a big, huge career fair that has like a broad range of stuff. And they even told my GM that like you should bring another person because this is pretty big. You're not going to be able to do it by yourself. And that's how I got to go. So my boss was like, grab Charlie then. So that's kind of cool. So for art, they lend heavily to like motion graphics artists. Motion graphics is really big in this theory. So like in this field, we found that like a motion graphics artist has the level of 3D knowledge where it helps for like with cinema and like Max or Maya, and it's leaning more toward like the visual effects things for some of those things, but also we also lean toward motion graphics artists that actually have a good design background. So like if you have a good design background, which is really hard to find, most motion graphics artists, even in the Chicago area, which is known for their motion graphics community, they're like basically animators, right? They're After Effects guys. They have a little bit of VFX background and then a little bit of Cinema 4D, or a lot of Cinema 4D stuff, but they're not really good designers. If that makes sense, they like think they are, but a designer like that, you need like a hardcore art director, Leo Burnett type of dude that knows typography and stuff like that. Those are few and far between, and we've had people on the show like Patrick Coleman, who is a good example of like, even though he didn't have the technical background of like a graphic designer, he has really good design sense, and he gets booked all the time as a creative director now because he's over the years been able to merge that whole stuff and can really hone a brand. So I try to find those type of guys for my motion guys, but they only take you so far. So when you get into the VR AR stuff, now I'm looking for game development type people that have a background in as a 3D generalist, but that's not good enough. I need real-time people, meaning you need to know how to use a game engine of some sort, Unity or Unreal. You need to have had a little background in working with, AR tech or VR tech and stuff like that in your spare time. We look for programmers that do that as a hobby, and they enter in these crazy like VR competitions or AR like stuff on the weekends, type of deal, or guys that like to work with LEDs and stuff like that. Like we've had like crazy projects where like the last project we did was of a car for CES that was, imagine a car that's segmented, and it's segmented with like clear glass, right? So it's a glass car, and the glass car edges are lined with LEDs, right? They go to different parts of the car, which is connected to a screen that when you click on the screen, all the LEDs change color in a certain way and move toward different sections of the car. So it's kind of like you're learning about different sections of this car, but the car is all RT segmented into glass, right? And you have to be able to program that. You have to be able to program the Arduinos. They do that. You need to be able to prepare the LED light strips and solder stuff together. So it's like a mixture of having the like physical, like electrician type of stuff and being able to program it. Like, so even for like our development director, I don't know how he finds these programmers, because some programmers are only good in like, game programming, and some are only good in, business type programming. Finding this like unique creative programming type of deal is ridiculous. And then you also see it. It's ridiculous. I don't know how they find them. So my 3D artist is a little bit easier. I can look for game type students, or I can look for senior motion or senior VFX guys and kind of find hybrids of that. But yeah, like you said, it's very challenging at times because because people don't understand it. And I didn't quite understand it when I was freelancing at first until I got in it, and didn't really wonder why they didn't just call themselves a studio rather than an agency. But it really is like an agency, because you now deal with the client like Carlos or like you, Jack, have dealt with in terms on the agency side of things, of like clients don't care. They're the same. They don't care that it's like this new technology. All they care about is, getting it done for the brand.
Yep.
And then like having those big meetings with like 15 people from said brand come in, and you trying to explain to them Unity and stuff like that. It's like a different type of like, it's a different type of sweating, like, which is the same for project managers. So we have project managers too, right? And you thinking, cool. I knew producers at game studios and project managers at other places. That's another thing that's a unique thing. So there's definitely people. We have had project managers, like our studio director, Sheila Scullin, has a background in curating for museums, right? So she used to be the head of the Children's Museum here in Chicago, and she curated that for years. So that means she dealt with a lot of experiences and like what do they call it? Museums, the different like booths and stuff at museums that need to be in a museum for years. And there's like animatronics and like all these different things that go into a museum exhibit designs, right? So from the exhibit world or whatever. But then dealing with clients and stuff like that. But she's also an amazing project manager. I've never met another person that can project manage a job better than her. Like I've listened to her talk to people. I went on site with her for a couple, because sometimes we do stuff we've been getting into the last year doing stuff for corporate, redoing corporate workspaces, and like, or they want some type of interactive thing in their lobby or in their in their media area, right? Where they can. One job we did a big, huge like wall projection where it projected the screen on a wall, and then it played a video so that when they would bring clients around, they would stop them there. It needed to have like an interface in the back where they can change stuff, and like that type of work sounds straightforward, but when you're dealing with like what they call, not a showrunner, they call them what's the word they call them? It's like the person in charge, but that person has somebody else that's in charge of them, and that person has somebody else that's in charge of them, and it has to work this way all throughout the chain for anybody to say yes. It's just a little different level of stress. But we also work with fabricators too. So, and that's the part that's hard, right? So a project manager can be a project manager and can work with like software. Maybe he worked at another company or she worked at another company that managed a bunch of programmers or manage a bunch of artists at a game studio or whatever. That's all cool. You can manage the software side. That's cool. The other part that makes project managing at my job hard is now they also have to talk to fabricators and people who have to build this stuff, and you have to give them specs, and they have to be like, maybe they'll have to leave the office because they need to run a TV over to the fabricator so they have it so they can build it, right? Or they have to figure out how to get a 90-inch TV across the country in 2 days. And like make sure it shows up at the show on time. And because if it doesn't show up at the show when we get there, we can't put it together, which means we have to deal with unions and all the other stuff for a big show like CES and stuff like that. And what happens when like half or like for the VR experience we did for Progressive, like two of our steering wheels, the like Arduinos on the back of them broke, right? So what do you do? How do you so now you have people from Progressive breathing down your neck, right? You only have this thing is happening in like 4 or 5 other cities at the same time, and you only have one other backup in our, so like our new project manager learned the hard way, like you get multiple backups because this might happen. What do you do? So it's like it's a weird level of stress for them too, because I don't know how they do that. All the scheduling and the shipping, and then it's like, okay, cool. Charlie needs, 2 more 1080 graphics cards, and right now they're all $1,200 a piece. Like, and I need to build 2 other machines so I can render stuff out, or so that like we get a project done, or we have to spec out the machine that runs our stuff too, and that gets filtered into the bill, right? But like, what happens when you can't get those things? Like you can't buy like AMD because that's not good. You need something else, So it's a cool skill set that it makes it hard to find project managers too. At the same time.
It's almost in a way sounds like they're like event planners. I mean, you guys, because so much of what you do is a live experience or allowing someone to put it. So it's like that. Not only are you designing the event itself or the product itself, the game or the visual or whatever it is, but it's like you got to organize all the vendors and you got to make sure your venue's right. And then it's like, I mean, that's a lot to manage. And it's like, and it almost reminds me a little bit of like, I mean, aside from like an event planner, but like live theater where you got somebody who's, creatively writing or designing costumes, but then they're also like literally building sets with hammers and nails, or they gotta go get a guy to like order light bulbs or ropes, or it's like it's so hands-on and so craft driven, but also you have this other kind of esoteric creative side. That it's weird that these two mindsets just kind of can work together, because not everybody, I would say most people, have a hard time managing that.
Yeah, it's weird because, and we have two new girls that are project managers, and they're both from a different company that kind of does what we do, but they're in a different lane. They're in the music lane of like show events and stuff like that. So they have horror stories of working on like a pop-up shop for Kanye or somewhere else like that. And she comes from, one girl in particular comes from the event planning. So she used to be like a contractor, freelance project manager for like Live Nation and all these other places where she's had to run and put together a bunch of stuff. Remember when Bud Light did the whole Destination Anywhere?
Yeah.
Like her company did that, and she worked on that run. So she project managed all that, like finding the location, where they found the location, where they built the small town, doing the stuff for the Super Bowl, doing the stuff for us. She did that stuff. But the part she's learning now is, all right, cool. You can do all that stuff. You can deal with vendors. You can deal with getting stuff shipped to places and stuff like that. But now you need to learn about 3D.
Right.
And what does it mean to project manage and to build out tasks for like 3D artists and motion graphics guys and designers? So now she has to do that, and she'll have to do other stuff. So it's a lot for her to learn. It's like teaching a freshman,
right,
like from square one. Like,
but I mean, so I guess in some ways you're next now. I mean, they're an agency because they're dealing with a client and they're designing these events and all these marketing. But you're also a studio because you guys do in-house creative production, right?
Right. So like when we were working on these things, the new space that we moved into last year, we needed more room. Like I'm constantly lifting 90-foot screens, or we got like a 60-foot screen in there today, the last couple of days, because we're doing this crazy projection mapping thing that I can't talk about, but I'll tell you guys in a couple weeks, because it's gonna be really cool, and it's like real artsy, real things. But we're using I've seen so many different types of projectors, and how you can have two projectors running off one computer and then have them blending seamlessly so that you have a bigger projector. So there's literally a blend line. There's a program called MadMapper. Look it up, or Touch Designer, but this time we use MadMapper, where you find a blend point between the two projectors and you blend them seamlessly. So it looks like one big screen, even though there's two projectors running. So it's like I'm learning so much stuff. But yeah, we have to do all that stuff. So not only do we have to make it, but we have to make it in a crude way in the studio first, so I can have something to test on. So we can do it, so we always have these Frankenstein, like setups. We did a AR experience for Cummins because they did the first electric semi truck. And the semi truck, obviously, we can't get it. They were in a really dead race with Tesla. So them and Tesla were racing to see who can come out with it first. Cummins came out with their version first, so they kind of won the first round, which just gives Tesla a little bit of time to come out and make a better one. But they released it at a show earlier this summer, and at the show, you're able to walk around the Cummins booth and walk around this semi, and then use an iPad, and there's different hot spots that were like woven into the semi, so you couldn't tell they were hot spots. When you looked at it through iPad, you saw the different engines and the different parts and stuff. So we did stuff like that. But in the studio, we literally had 30 tripods set up at different heights in the shape of like the semi truck, right? So that we can try to do it 1-to-1. And so I stared at like tripods with markers on them for like a month. And miraculously, like you get to go, and sometimes you get to go and see it. And so we did a little bit of testing, and we did that like literally a week and a half or 2 weeks before it came out. But other than that, we have to make the test 1-to-1 at work, and then just like it always like works because we do all these measurements, and the project manager is sitting there measuring out, how long a semi truck is, and they're making this like crude like mock-up. And it works, and it's our process is cool, but it's crazy how they get it to work each time. We have so many different computers and projectors and screens that are mounted different ways, and LED screens in the front, and we just kind of make a crude version at work, or we get a piece of it at work. Like we're working on a project now that for an unnamed person where I'm going to get a motorcycle at the so I can sit at the job. So we're going to have a really nice motorcycle in the studio for a couple of weeks. Like it's cool. It's crazy cool what the stuff they get in. But then they got to say, okay, how do you ship a motorcycle back out like and get it back to where they needed to? It's going to be cool. So yeah. Or we did the boat experience. We literally stuck our like steering wheel in this makeshift cardboard contraption we made so that we can have the like same type of like setup of the steering wheel and the throttle and stuff like that in front of the programmer's desk. And as you can imagine, the programmer's desk are covered with just parts and they drive Sheila crazy on. We can't keep the programmer's like desk clean because it literally looks like a mad scientist. Yeah. You know, there's a pot of 4, so you can imagine like they're efficient. It's right there, and they need it right there, and there's 30 circuit boards right there, and that's what they need right there. You know, so it's crazy.
Well, let's get back on to the topic of Charlie, and we have a Sketch Zone hotline question for Charlie.
Really?
Go.
What's up, Sketch Zone? It's Dave Atsey, long-time listener,
hey, Dave.
Two-time caller, and all-around nice guy. I've got a question for Charlie. I feel like you're Chandler from Friends. Every time I think I've worked out exactly what you do at work, you tell us about a new project, and it sounds nothing like what I thought you did. 3D, environments, VR, real-life installs. Exactly what do you do for a job, Charlie? What do you do? Like,
Dave really wants to know. He called me Chandler. I've never been called Chandler. So awesome.
Hi, Dave.
Dave.
Chandler.
Dave, actually do at work.
Hang on, before we straight up just start talking about Charlie, I got a Charles theme song.
What? And you went with the old school version, not even like the updated version as they moved toward the 80s.
Mm-hmm. The OG.
Thank you, Jack. So, what do I do at work for Mr. Dave?
What do you do here? What do you really do here?
What do you?
I've been at Next now for going on 3 years now. I started out as a freelancer, and I started out as a freelance 3D environment artist because they needed an environment artist to build a stadium for their Intel experience. So I started out as an environment artist, went in there based off my background in games. I have about 10 years plus in game development at both AAA studios and medium studios and smaller studios.
And EA.
At EA. So I started out at EA, first job out of the industry, did an art test, beat out a bunch of people. Still don't know how I did it, and then got in at EA. Because when I saw the level of freshman classes coming in with me, I was like, okay, cool. It was a nice little confidence booster, but then I was like, oh crap, I got to perform every day. Because like you have the schools that are like really good, right? That we looked up to, and then like there was like another 6 other artists that were going to all those schools I read about, and I'm like, and I went to AI. And they've never really hired anybody from AI ever. They did it once. They did it twice. And that was our friend Julie that we had on the show, and another guy named Joel, and then one other guy named Jason. And that was like, so there was like a 6 or 7 year, 8 year gap. So it was a big deal when I got hired from there because they were surprised. So I spent 2 years there. And then I worked at another studio called High Voltage, and that was a third-party studio. You know, so it wasn't a first party. First party was EA, so we paid for our own stuff. Money was plentiful. I was like making it rain every day. And then I worked at High Voltage, which was a third-party studio, not as big. Still 200, almost 300-man studio at one point in time because they had a mocap studio also that I worked for a little bit called Red Eye, which I got my first experience with mocap and doing a couple of things with those. So I worked at High Voltage for 6 years. Yeah, 6 years. And then they had a big layoff right before the economy crashed. The game industry did good for like maybe a year, and then people were like, "Oh, the economy's shit, and I don't want to pay for games," you know. And I lived in middle America, so it finally hit us because everything was moving west. So before that, I decided to start teaching because I guess I was bored in the evening, and I regretted it after teaching and working full time at that because it was a lot of long hours. You know, I would teach evening classes from like 6 to 9, and then I would go back to work and work from 9 to 2, and then rinse and repeat every other day. So, but with that, before I didn't have any teaching experience, and I had a buddy that taught me about lesson plans and did a bunch of stuff. So when I got my first teaching job, I had to do an audition. I always had to do tests for stuff. So I auditioned in front of a board at the school that I taught at with the program chair and like 4 other teachers. And then everybody else that was teaching there that was auditioning that day was teachers from DePaul and all the major colleges.
So what goes on in a teaching audition?
So it's a teaching test. So what happens is they tell you that you have 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes to teach a subject. And they said you can use one of your syllabuses that you have already done before. Because like I said, it was like gen ed teachers. It was and then other art-based teachers too. So a lot of those guys are using syllabuses they already taught because they taught over at DePaul, they taught it at Tribeca, or they taught at AI, or they taught at Northern, whatever.
Right.
So they would teach something. So I was like, oh, I don't got anything to teach. I just know my shit. I just know how to do stuff. Just hire me. He's like, no, you have to teach something, Charlie. I was like, okay, cool. I'll figure it out. So I learned about lesson plan, made a big lesson plan, and I've always been a pretty good public speaker. So I said, all right, I'm gonna kind of not wing this, but I'm just gonna teach something they don't think I would ever like teach. I wasn't gonna show something in Photoshop or something like he thought I was gonna do, because I was actually teaching for a Photoshop class. It was a freshman level class because based on I have a bachelor's of fine arts in media arts and animation. So when you teach based on the level of your degree, and unless you get like special waivers and stuff like that with the accreditation board, you can't teach higher level classes unless you have a master's,
right?
Or senior level classes unless you have a master's normally, unless you apply with certain forms of accreditation. You can apply based on your years of experience, and they do a big, huge background check on you and stuff like that, and you can then be able to teach higher level classes. But that's a process. Don't do it. You have to have years of experience in teaching. So that happened later on. Look at that. So I taught how to make a paper airplane. Legit.
Wait, how? And what? Modeling?
And no,
like a paper airplane.
Yes, in real life. And I did a huge presentation on the history of it first. So I broke the lesson down into 2. We talked about the history of it and the real life, where it all came from and all that good stuff. And then we did the application. And then I set up my lesson plan like I would set up my classroom in terms of like how we move through the syllabus into the practical application of it. And then did a mock classroom. So I turned the whole review board into a mock classroom. So, and I would single out people who were reviewing. So like my featured boss, I singled him out. I made him come up. I made him show us what he did. I made him walk us through our process. I showed a critique session. I did the whole 9, but it was all when aligned to my lesson plan down to the minute. So all the teachers on the board can look at the lesson plan and say that he knows how to follow a lesson plan by the minute and hit all the things. Well, based on that, every teacher told me I did a great job, and I gave them tips for their classes and stuff too, which is surprising because I was like, I just do it a shot in the dark because I cold called a lot of schools to try to figure out if I can start teaching. So I figured I didn't have anything to lose if they didn't like it. But then I brought it back to all the stuff I do in 3D, and I talked a little bit about the 3D and routed off a bunch of 3D stuff so they knew I knew that, and they knew my background. And that's how I got started teaching. And eventually that's how I started teaching with Tyrus, because Tyrus was looking for a teaching job at the time, and we started teaching. He went down to the Chicago campus, blew up down there, and then brought me on after we got the official layoff happened. So that helped out, and I taught downtown Chicago for about 5 years. And by that time, then I applied for the whole accreditation thing. I was able to, and eventually, by the time I left teaching after 5 years, I was teaching. The cohort was getting smaller, so I was teaching like 80% of that degree, you know, in terms of from game design all the way through senior portfolio, being the head portfolio teacher, and all that good stuff. So it worked out good because most of my students, a bunch of students that sucked and just shouldn't have been there. But you have also a lot of students that had a lot of potential. And we pushed a lot of students. And now, because I told them it's going to take a while, I told them it'll take 3 or 4 years sometimes to get in, because by the time I was teaching, it was 100 times harder to get into the industry, the game industry, than when I got in, right? So when I got in, it took me 2 years. So I store managed. I did the whole retail thing. I made a salary store managing for the Abercrombie Corporation and stuff like that for 2 years, right? So I told them, if it took me 2 years, it's going to take you 2.5 years to 4 years or longer, because the level of talent is like crazy. In 2004, it was still a new thing. A lot of the major 3D movies that came out, if you look at them now, they kind of look like shit. It was just they were learning it still. VFX industry was very young and stuff like that. You know, it was new. Now people know what they expect, and you're getting like crazy, amazing talent. So I would tell this to the freshman class. So we would get a bunch of people that would drop it, or like program chairs would like get mad at it, stuff like that. I'm like, well, cool. I didn't need them anyway. They was gonna suck. I didn't want to go through that. It's cool. The ones that stay stuck around, you know, like they'll be fine. So even last week, I had one of my first students, Julian Ayala. He started out and did a bunch of my early Photoshop classes and modeling classes and senior portfolio classes, and he wanted to be a character artist, and he sucked. And I said, "Yo, you need to up your game if you really want to do this," because I would steer people from the character stuff unless they really want to do it. You can't half-ass characters. He kept at it, got a job at NetherRealm, but it was a contract job, did good there, and he just got hired at EA last week. So now he works at EA Tiburon. And he was one of my like hardest students. That he was the one that didn't know anything and just had like that mediocre like demo reel coming out of school. Yeah. So that's a testament to, I know that like but he kept working. He was a server, you know, in the evening times. He still was just like grinding. It was a big deal when he got on at NetherRealm for that 6-month contract. So then he got a game under his belt with the Injustice games, but then got laid off at Christmas time this year, but kept moving. But another student that he knew that we taught, one of the twins, we had 2 identical twins that
one of them has been on the show.
And one of them's been on the show. He works at EA. So we always used to say, and Carlos has said it here, and Jack has said it, and I've said it countless times, people you go to school with, sometimes if you work hard, those people are going to help you out later on. So be good to these people you're in school with, and work with them, and don't be a dick and don't think your stuff is better than them, because they might be that dude that's sitting in the job where you want. So sure enough, Pablo found out that Julian was looking for a job, know that he had like a game under his belt, or 2 games under his belt now, or a game under his belt. So had about 6 months to a year experience under his belt, put his resume on his lead's desk, gave Julian the art test, and he's working at EA. He moved down there last week, so he's starting his job. He put a picture up of him with the EA symbol, and that made me feel good. I was like, you're following my footsteps. Nice. So it's cool. So I'm very proud of that, because it's starting to happen for a lot of my students, because that's the biggest thing, where I wasn't sure if it was a success even when I moved on to Next Now with my teaching career, because I don't think it would have been a success unless I had people that got in. And now I'm up to like 5 or 6 or something like that at this point.
You didn't see a bunch of paper airplanes flying through the sky knowing that you made it?
Yeah, right?
I taught them how to make that.
Yeah, that was just to that teacher. That first Photoshop class was rough too. I was nervous. I don't get nervous before, but going into that first class after working all day, that was crazy. I sat in the back of the class and blended in, because I still look kind of young. That's back when I had my like motorcycle.
Wait, that was what you did on the first day?
The very first day of class. My very
you like
first day
pretended to be a student?
I chilled for a good 10, 15 minutes. in class
Yeah.
and talk to people. And I told them I was a transfer from AI. I looked this before I had the beard and stuff. I was just clean shaven. So I looked young enough to them, you know, they didn't know. And he was like, yeah. And then one guy was like, there's some dude that used to work at EA or something. I'm not sure. I just hope he's good. I'm like, oh, cool. Me too.
Charlie's like, okay, I got an eye on you.
I had shitty teachers. I said I had shitty teachers at my last school. So yeah, I hope he's good because this school's a lot cheaper too. So
and so what happened when you flipped the script and got up?
I just stood up. I was like, yo, my name is such and such, such, such. And the dude was like, dog, and everybody just laughed. It was a great I was like, yo, so let's get started because I got stuff to do. And I just jumped up from the back of the class. Awesome. And they were like, wait, what? Like you teaching? You're the teacher for real? I'm like, yeah, let's go. Let's get going.
Aren't you glad you didn't talk shit?
Right.
Well, I talked to that one dude. He was like, oh man, why you set me up like that? I'm like, yeah, well, it won't be the last time. So get used to it. And I just came with the jokes.
I wanted to keep an eye on.
Yeah, he's like, I was waiting for him to say something, but I knew my portfolio was all right, so I knew people probably looked me up, and even some of those people still come back and contact me every once in a while. So after that 5 years, then I found the Next Now gig and started making the switch because I still wanted to do a little bit of, you know, game stuff. I wanted to get away from. I wanted to do more cinematic stuff and move into the motion stuff. And Patrick Coleman was actually one who kind of really helped me to start looking in the broadcast scene here in Chicago, because he was like, you can still do 3D in the motion industry. You don't have to be like the After Effects motion graphics guy. Just be the 3D guy at a post house. And I don't know why I'd never thought of that before. I kind of thought it was out of reach, or you know how you think you have to go through a certain way. So I started setting myself up for the freelancer life and like being a 3D guy and making moves and going to the different user groups. And I'd been pretty much cemented throughout teaching, doing the user groups thing in Chicago, which was very, very tough because it's really hard to be like, oh, I teach. Because then people kind of look down on you sometimes for teaching. They just assume you suck. And then like I had a lot of the post guys, VFX guys, like glaze over their face when I told them I'm a teacher and stuff like that. But then they were like, either look at my work, or they would like, or I send them my LinkedIn, or we do the whole phone thing, and they see EA on there, and then they perk up a little bit when I ask all these questions, and then I don't really want to talk to them anymore because they thought I sucked at first. But I was like, you can't use that. I couldn't use EA for long because that was like years ago at that point. Right. So it was a crazy time of like, sometimes you don't want to go to those user groups, especially I didn't want to go at times, but I made myself still go to all those things because I knew it would help in the long run, you know. With communication and networking and stuff like that, and it's helped. So then I found the Next Now gig through other people that I knew and people I used to go to school with and stuff like that. Didn't really know about it. I applied there, and they didn't get back to me till like 4 or 5 months later. So I had forgot I even applied at Next Now, and literally got an email like randomly. You know, I had just got back, and I still was applying in the game development stuff, but it was getting increasingly harder because at this point, I got married, had one kid, and now you can't really move around as much. Right. I thought I still had a little bit of window when my oldest was like a infant and stuff like that. So I went real hard for about a year, and then had to turn down a bunch of stuff after I realized Monica was pregnant. I got a call from EA again through people I used to work at EA, and all I had to do was like an art test, and it was pretty easy, straightforward. I literally had to email back and tell them no, you know. And I found a couple other places. I interviewed at the Tomb Raider people. That was a month-long interview process between phone tagging and art tests and stuff like that, and multiple calls with the art director. I ended up getting flown out. They put me up in a hotel for like a day and a night or whatever. Interviewed all day. That was the old campus, Jack, in Redwood area. Where they were sharing campus.
Was this Ubisoft
this was
that's actually close to me, Redwood City.
Right, Redwood City. It was not Ubisoft. They shared a campus with PDI DreamWorks, and it was the Tomb Raider guys, which was I can't. Crystal Dynamics. So it's Crystal Dynamics, and they're like the original Tomb Raider guys, which were owned by
Activision, I think, right?
Capcom.
No,
Capcom bought them out.
Yeah.
Capcom bought them out, but they had that crazy campus, and it was a beautiful campus, like health club, whole nine, and then the eating area was shared with DreamWorks guys. So like you're kind of like intermingling with them every day. Walked around that studio all day. I had an agenda with 15 different people on it for my interview. 15 different people. I was like, this is worse than EA. Damn, EA was like stressful back in the day, but that wasn't as many people because obviously smaller. Out there in California, it's a bigger deal. So I was like 15 different people, and the interview took all day, literally all day. I got in there at like 9 o'clock. I left there at 4 o'clock, 4 or 5 o'clock. I signed the whole NDA thing and everything like that. And they started off the interview with saying like, we brought you in here because all your 3D stuff was exactly like the concept art that we have on the wall. And there's no way you could have seen what the concept art looked like, the way you modeled it and the proportions. It was exactly the same thing. And I'll show it to you today. Like the producer was like hype. In my head, I was like, oh shit, I got this. I'm good. You know? So like I went through all that plan, and you deal with the good and bad interviews where some guy forgot that he had to do an interview that day. So it's like literally like staring at each other, and I'm driving the whole interview. So at this point, I'm used to talking in front of people. So I'm just talking, asking questions, talking, being engaging, whatever. Thinking like, okay, cool. I think I got this one. This is like 5 years worth of like applying at places. I would apply to different places and do 30 places a week. And I did that for 5 years while teaching. And then luckily with Tyrus and stuff, I would get places where I have to go. He would give me days off for free, cover my classes, and then I would just go interview. I would like fly out and go interview in different places. So sometimes I didn't even tell people when I flew out, or didn't put it on social media, or just turn my phone off for that day because I got tired of people seeing that I left somewhere and then me having to tell them if I didn't get it. It was like it started being demoralizing after a while. Right. So like I just stopped telling people when I would fly stuff out outside of like, I think I would call Carlos and a couple other people, but like outside of like the close nexus of people, Carlos, Patrick, Wes, I wouldn't tell anybody anymore. But I was like, I had so many flyouts and like driving to places and flying across the country. It's crazy. So Crystal Dynamics was the farthest one and was the biggest one. A lot of the other one was a lot of phone calls, a lot of Skype videos, a lot of 2 and 3 and 4 revisions, and then getting beat out by one other person. And so the Crystal Dynamics thing went good. I showed them all my stuff. They showed me all the Tomb Raider stuff. They showed me all the old stuff, all the new stuff. They were gonna work. It was a Guardians of Light team, and that team did so good because it was like a breakout, like offshoot of Tomb Raider that like they got to do whatever they wanted for the next game. And it was during their election year, so they were doing a satirical game about George Washington and like all the presidents, and the presidents are fighting all the old villains or different villains from the past, but they were taking over different parts of the city. So like sometimes they'd be storybook villains like Blackbeard and all these other ones. So like what does the environment I had to make was, what does the Washington Monument look like if it was taken over by Blackbeard the pirate? And then like what does that environment look like?
Random.
So yeah, so like I did like, so I made the Washington Monument, and then they told me the style was in Tex Avery. So they said so they said our style is kind of very Tex Avery-ish, exaggerated proportions. They gave me a couple Tex Avery like screenshots of like, you know, Tom and Jerry and all this, and I'm like, and then they give it, and that's the art test, and that's how vague it was. So I'm like, what kind of shit is this? Like, and it's semi-realistic. I'm like, that's how they fuck with people for art tests. Like I can get into this whole art testing. I don't think I talk about it on the show a lot, but the whole art test thing where they don't give you any revisions or they don't give you any like feedback, and they just like go. It's like maybe like 4 or 5 bullet points, maybe 8 bullet points, and most of them is like technical specs of like these would be this many textures, you need to pack your UVs this way, whatever. But then the concept, that like Blackbeard taking over the Washington Monument but like
It's
the
crazy.
texturing has to look like this or realistic like this. And you look at the Tex Avery, and it's literally a black stripe on gray for a wall. Like, you don't know what texture that is. It doesn't look like wood. It's gray. Like, like I looked at so many like old cartoons. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So then I would do that, and they were like, yeah, let's add a little more texture in the walls. And in my head, I'm like, all right, art director, that means it's not like this.
It's not Tex Avery.
It's not that, you know, but like it's just a shot in the dark. And like, and then they'll say, okay, cool. So I got the art test on, when was that? Monday. I got the art test on a Monday, right? Or at this time I was hip to the game. So I would say I got the art test on a Friday or whatever. I would email the HR and say that I'm doing another gig or I'm doing another art test or whatever, but I can get to your art test on Monday, right? At this point, the HR lady is like, okay, and they sing you the art test. So now I have all weekend to study the art test, but don't really have to start the art test.
There's a whole bunch of HR ladies right now that just got triggered.
Good, because this could be
that.
So like, I would start the art test on Monday, right? So then by that time, I've stared at it all weekend, or maybe even started on it all weekend, so that like if I had the class on Monday and I'm gone for most of Monday and I don't get to really work on it till Monday evening, which is not enough time, because then it's always due on Wednesday. They only gave you 3 days for the art test. And then the harder art tests were like from like Naughty Dog that I did and other places, like these big, huge studios. They'll say, don't turn this in before 2 weeks. Those are the harder ones, because now they figure they give you 2 weeks on it.
Yeah,
you better throw everything. And that one was, I had to make Anchor Watts, you know, that jungle scene or whatever. And they're like, go. It's a floating island, blah, blah, blah. They don't tell you anything else. Go. They'll give you half
I think sounds like they're using the Sketch Zone fun prompt generator for these tests.
Right. So Naughty Dog one is because they do a lot of like jungle, Indiana Jones type stuff. You know, they need to see how well you can do like foliage and all that good stuff. But they don't tell you texturing, like how it should look. They just they give you a concept art that one of the concept artists did, and then maybe a picture reference. I got really good at reverse engineering what that picture reference was, so I can find the real one online, so I can have the real reference instead of this like crop version they gave me. You know, there's a bunch of like tricks you can do. Anything to give myself more time, because they will only give you 3 days, and you had to have it turned in by, like with the Crystal Dynamics, the Tomb Raider guys, you had to turn it in by Wednesday at 5 end of business day, and they gave it to you. So if I said, okay, I can start on a Monday, by Wednesday you need to be showing them something, and it's always supposed to be as much as you can do in that time period. But that's like always like, you better finish it. You better not show like unfinished work or half textured or like whatever. Right. And sometimes it's like, and some studios really do try to make you figure out if it's a prop or something. How are you going to get this done? What are you going to exclude? What are you going to keep in order to fill in the gaps, in order to make this look like a presentable piece? I get it from a talking standpoint, but from a normal person working, is really shitty. So I did that, jumped through all the hoops, talked to the 15 people, fast forward. Everything went good. I flew back Friday night, late Friday night, got back to Chicago. Monday coming around, I don't hear nothing. He said he'd get back to me at least by Wednesday. Tuesday comes around, still don't hear nothing. Now I'm getting nervous because I thought it went really good. Wednesday comes around, don't hear nothing. Thursday comes around, now I'm like furious because this is like the longest process that I've done. It was literally a month and a half from the date we first started talking. And that's like every day there's something new, like somebody I needed to talk to before they gave me the art test. They vetted me like a lot. And then Friday, like afternoon, 3:00, he gives me a call. He's like, yeah, Charlie, sorry it took so long to get back to you. We really milled over this and stuff like that. I'm like, this is bullshit. I didn't get it because it took too long. We ended up going with one other guy. It came down to you and one other guy, and everything with your artwork and everything was good. They never thought you couldn't do any of the artwork. You actually were on point. They needed somebody with more lead experience. because when I got there and I was interviewing at Crystal Dynamics, the recruiter didn't tell me that. They told me it was a senior art position, and I had the correct number of 5 years or more experience. But they didn't tell me that it was also, at that time, they started doing the whole outsourcing manager position in games. So that outsourcing thing that used to be for VFX, it started making its way into games. And that was like the first year they started doing it. And then now every studio has an outsourcing manager. So when I got there and I was interviewing, they threw me a curveball and said, half of your day will be like managing the outsourcers. You're getting the artwork in from the outsourcers, fixing it and putting it into game. And then your afternoons would be doing your game level that you have. And I was like, how are you at managing a bunch of people and stuff like that, dealing with critiques and all that stuff. And I was like, good. I'm not gonna say I'm not good at it. I'm like, cool, I can do that. That sounds fine. I've been able to prepare stuff for engines and stuff. That's fine. But whoever else got that job, I think, came from another place, and he was a lead somewhere else. So then after that, I was so pissed. I vowed to like find some way of becoming more lead.
No more art tests ever.
Yeah. And I stopped doing it. I think probably that was my last art test I did. Because I was like, really? Because the art was fine. It wasn't about the art test. Like they left out that they were looking for a lead. And I went back, looked at the original email, looked at the original job posting, and nowhere they said they needed an outsourcing manager or anything. I felt like it was a big waste of my time. I got really pissed at that part. But it motivated me to find different things. After that, I started becoming a part of a lot more indie stuff, a lot more studios, and start doing more like lead work and like trying to get things, where I can start being more lead. Getting to that. So I try to like up my skill set in terms of like managing people to a point, and realize that I can't just be that dude that throws their headphones on anymore, because it seems like after that, for the next year, like that whole outsourcing thing blew up. I don't know how it was for you, Jack, in the VFX, but everybody had an outsourcing manager or was dealing with outsourcing, and they're finding ways to cut costs because the economy was tanking and nobody was hiring. Like the whole notion of a freelancer came into the game industry at that point, where it was like now people were putting people on permalance. So you would work for Microsoft or EA, and you have a 9-month contract, and then they just roll the contract over, and they just kept you there for like a year and a half, 2 years, until they finally passed that law where they couldn't do that anymore. So then that made things harder, where they can only keep you for 9 months, and then they had to let you go for 2 months and then bring you back.
So which is almost worse.
So it was worse. It became worse. Where before I could say I could have got a contract job in California, contract for 9 months to hire, they would have brought me on. Now I could have been like, okay, cool, I could move my family out, or I could do this. But when they changed that law, there was no guarantee that I was going to get anything after the contract. Right. So I had a lot of offers for like Microsoft or other places, but there were contracts. Even Canada, a couple of them, there were contracts. But they tell you right up front, we just need you for this 9-month contract. But I'm sure you'll be able to find something else if you're looking to move out here. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I can't like.
Yeah, if you're by yourself, maybe, but
I can't bet on like moving people out for something that's not going to happen. And I knew my luck. It's always going to be the hard way. It's not going to be like something's going to roll over and I'm going to find a full-time gig,
Right.
But it's just motivation. All these stories are just motivation to get me to where I was now, to where I am now. I fell into Next Now, no art test. They liked all my work. Everything is history now. And then I've been promoted twice in 3 years. So
Dave, he still hasn't told you what he does.
I did. Oh yeah, I did.
Right now.
We got on the art test thing. So
I
did tell him what I did. I started off as an environment artist.
Yeah, you said I started off as an environment artist, and then you went all the way back to how Charlie got his start in the industry. So now we're back to you getting a job as an environment artist.
So I got a 4-month contract in the middle of the summer for Next Now as an environment artist. It's also the same summer we met for SIGGRAPH. So it was an accelerated job because I knew that I was going to be gone for half of it. So I worked really hard at Next Now to get all my stuff done technically a month early. So that when I left for my contract job, when I left for SIGGRAPH, which they agreed to me leaving, and coming back afterwards, I set the whole team up in a good spot because I was still trying to think that maybe I can make this job go farther after when I got back. So I was a contract environment artist doing environment work, building levels and stuff like that for these experiences in Unity. And then when I got back, I had about a month left. 2 weeks after I got back, they offered me a full-time position. I'm like, cool, I'm going to be a senior environment artist. It'll be great. This will work for a while, right? But they had a caveat where they wanted me to lead the department because they didn't have a lead. And the 3 or 4 months I worked prior, they saw a change in the quality of 3D that came out of that department based on me helping everybody else, showing them new programs, introducing new programs that made things better. They said, we need you to run the team. And our 2 other guys are pretty mid-level to junior. So we think that they'll be really good if you ran the team. So that was a bump in pay. And now I'm leading folks. And I was leading folks as a freelancer, which was kind of weird too. We had somebody that's contract telling all the people that
yeah, is that common in game industry?
No, it wasn't. It's one of those things where the CEO has also art background, so he's kind of like the chief creative officer. So the stuff that we were doing for Intel wasn't looking where he wanted it, and he was liked my stuff I did for the other Intel project that I was doing by myself, and he was like, Charlie's gonna come on and help out, and basically Charlie just wants you to art direct this. He said this in a meeting randomly, and then to just run everything through Charlie, and we'll just have him art direct it so that we have a cohesive look. And then I think we'll try that out. We'll do that. So Charlie, just go ahead and take the lead on this, and then you'll be good. And he says, "Is that okay?" He asked me that in front of everybody. I was like, "Yeah, cool, that's cool." But I was only a contractor at that point, so it was kind of unheard of. But I think they probably already talked about it beforehand. I just didn't know they're gonna ask me that. And everybody was cool with it because they liked all the work I did, and it looked instantly, like within a week, it looked way better. There was things that I saw just leaning on my years of experience that they were missing, or we had a bunch of assets that they were buying in the past from like the store and stuff like that, but it wasn't looking like a cohesive unit. So that's kind of how I got my lead position. So I was a lead for about, I say a year and a half or so. We went through a lot of changes, got a little bit bigger. We moved to a new studio, and then middle of this the middle of this summer or so, we lost our art director earlier in the year, and now we didn't have an art director. So for like 3 or 4 months, I was kind of doing the work of an art director without having the title of an art director, because I would lead the 3D team, but I would take it upon myself to make sure all the designers and motion guys had stuff they need to do and kind of push the project, especially when a project's like a Unity-based or a game-based project. 3D lead can have a lot of like leeway with that, because it's all coming to you in the end, so you can make it look good. So with that being said, they kind of was trying to figure out their process. There's waiting to find the right type of art director because we were so different. Like we talked about earlier, it wasn't like a regular agency, and they put a lot of pressure on the motion designers and the designers to kind of art direct the different projects. So they're kind of like mini art directors in their own right, in terms of like the look and the brand, building a brand deck and all that good stuff that goes into presenting to clients. In an agency world, you have to do a lot of decks and a lot of presenting, a lot of mood boards and style frames and stuff like that, which is some of the stuff you hear a motion and graphic artists have to do a lot. So they approached me with a random meeting one day. I'm like, ooh, am I getting fired? Because last time I had meetings like this, usually somebody's getting fired. When they say, hey, can I talk to you in the conference room real quick? I'm like, oh, snap.
Real quick? That's how they fire folks now?
They're like, can I talk to you real quick?
Hey, step aside real quick.
I was like, okay, cool. I would make a joke like, yo, do I want to go in here real quick? She's like, it's fine. Just come on in. I'm like, oh, I hate when they say it's fine. But she didn't want to say anything outside. So she sat me down. She's like, we want to offer you a promotion. I'm like, ooh, okay, this is cool. I thought it was something else, but now I feel better. they offer me the design team manager position. So it's kind of like a hybrid. And one of my caveats when I heard that and I heard the word manager, I kind of got scared because I was like prepared to say no because I don't want to be a manager. I think it's like detrimental to a artist. And I thought about for a split second after she said it, I was like, okay, I'm going to turn this down because I want to stay on the box. I want to stay doing artwork because I'll suffer if I ever have to leave here. But she surprised me and says, we still want you to create and be the lead 3D artist. So we still want you to drive content and be the principal artist in terms of what our 3D look is for the studio. So we want you to keep that job, but we want to give you this too. And then we want to pay you this, which is awesome. So I like that because a lot of times, sometimes, especially at game studios and other places, you hit a plateau after you become a junior, then you become an environment artist or an artist, and then you become a senior artist. And then when you're a senior artist, you have to make that decision. Do you become a senior studio artist or do you go into being a lead? Right. And I always struggled with that coming up, wondering what I would ever do if I got to that point. Because at those studios, if you become a lead, you're doing less artwork and more overseeing and design work. So maybe you'll do some principal early concepts and stuff like that, or art director type stuff, what they do, but you're not in the trenches, and I just knew the culture of what that was from people that are in the trenches versus people above them, and I always thought that was like, that's not me, baby. I just become that studio artist. Because you always have those senior guys that all they want to do is work. So they become that like go-to guy at the studio. Oh, such and such will figure that out because he's amazing, but he should be leading, So fast forward to me getting in the position of becoming the creative director or the design team manager, and then still being the lead 3D artist. There was some hesitation there because I have to be able to balance because I'm still going to get art tasks, but I'm finding now that legit 60% of my day sometimes is in meetings. So but I rather juggle that now rather than the latter being a manager. So now that's what I do. I'm in charge of pipeline. I'm the direct supervisor of all the artists in the studio. So I'm the supervisor of the art team. The answer to me, I do reviews each year. I do hiring. I do, and I also have the final say for anything that's 3D in the studio.
What do you mean by final say? That's like you're the chief creative director for 3D stuff?
So, like I drive the main look of what is 3D for the studio. And then underneath me, I just have my regular 3D artists. So they look to me to push the studio forward in terms of like quality content. So if they need something that looks really, really good, a lot of times I'll take all the 3D content that's really hard to do that we can do in house that I can feasibly do, and I kind of drive the visual standard for the studio in terms of that. That's kind of what the lead does, as well as lead the generalist and the tech artist that I have underneath me. So I have a 3D technical artist and I have a generalist, and I then manage all the freelancers. So lately we've been getting freelancers in and I manage them also, and then critique their artworks, give critiques and daily reviews and all that good stuff. And then on the design side, I do the same thing for the designers, but the designers are a little bit different. So we have 2 motion designers and 1 senior designer. I still oversee them and give them reviews and critiques, but we work with them a little bit more because we see them as like mini art directors, because they get assigned a project when we get a project in. So they have to do the initial style frames, concept, sometimes the UI work, and then I oversee what they're doing and kind of give my insight. Like with our senior designer, she's learning 3D more, so I usually have to give her a lot of the 3D concept stuff, and I do concept boards and 3D decks too, also in style frames. So sometimes I get to do a little bit of that, so that's kind of nice, which is more of like an art director type deal. And yeah, and that's kind of like my day to day. And then also I'm the point man for all the project managers. So they talk to the artists, see how long things are going to take, and I kind of oversee everybody's workload to make sure that the points and stuff are working out in Jira and stuff like that, and like making sure that like, yes, you can do this. Yes, this is possible. So on the other side, I'm in all the business development meetings and with the sales team and stuff like that. No, we can't do that. Nope, that takes about 100 people to do that. No, we don't do photorealistic motion capture, blah, blah, blah. No, we don't have the stuff to do that. Yes, we could do that. No, we can't do that. Oh, we're doing it anyway? Okay, I have to figure out how we're going to do it. So I'm managing all the software, buying new software. That's the fun part, Got the company card, so I get to buy software and explore new software to get stuff done. But yeah, a lot of times, like, especially with the whole, like, when we get new stuff in, they're like, can we do this? And I'm like, if we do this, this, and this, because you don't want to always say no, because that makes a naysayer. But, they kind of vet me to say, yo, is this possible? They want to do this. And I'm like, no, you would have to do it like this. Oh, that's not really possible. We don't have enough people to do that, but we can do this, or we already got this sign, so we need to figure out how to do this. How can we do it? I'm like,
yikes.
Yeah. So that's kind of like my job in a nutshell. And it's a lot of meetings, but it's cool. It's cool stuff. So it's all new. It's a hybrid of all the places I've worked at. A little bit of VFX, a little bit of game, a little bit of art direction, a little bit of concept work. Yeah, a lot of learning every day.
All right, here you go.
What we got?
Listener question.
Wow, Charlie, great answer. I feel I have a good grasp on what you do at work now. Thanks for clearing that up for me.
Yo, that's cool. I was like, is he live? Nice.
Hey, Sketch, it's Dave again. Wow, Charlie, great answer. I feel I have a good grasp on what you do at work now. Thanks for clearing that up for me.
You're welcome, Dave. Hey, Dave.
That's awesome.
We got a question on YouTube.
You do? Ooh.
From Landon.
What up, Landon?
Yeah. So Landon Wilson has a couple questions.
Okay.
First off, he wants to know, how's Charlie's electric skateboard going? Keeping the commute down?
Yo, the electric skateboard is the best thing I bought last year. I've made my wife a believer. It's great. I used this electric skateboard like 2 weeks ago. People look at me crazy, but like commute cost is amazing. So the skateboard cost me $1,400, right? I bought the skateboard. It's a little bit of trek to get to my job now. I work in the West Loop. It's a neighborhood in the city, and door to door from my train station to my door it's like a 20-minute walk, right? Yeah. So 20-minute walk in like right now in Chicago. Yeah, no one likes
20 minutes of hell.
Yeah, like it's literally like crazy. Like the wind was blowing like it was like Wizard of Oz today. It was stupid and it was below zero. So I tried to use the electric skateboard this winter and fall as much as I could, but now I've gotten to the point where I can't use it, so it's sitting right here, and I'm almost have it paid off. It took about a year to pay it off, so I almost have it paid off. So I'm gonna have to send it back to California, get it all checked up while it's under warranty, so I'm good for the summer. But it cuts down my commute a lot. It's been like it's called using it for the last mile. So like literally, right now I have like $180 commute for the train with pass each month. I have another $100 that I use in the L, which is our subway here in Chicago. But that's for me to go one stop. For one stop. I hate that. And then I have parking costs here in Des Plaines at the train station. So I cut out that $100 a month, and I cut out the parking cost, and all I had to do was pay for my like train ticket. So in the summertime, I was saving, I would say $200-300 a month because I was on that board.
You paid it off already?
Huh? Yeah.
You got got your money back.
Yeah, I got like $200 left on it. So it'll be
Oh, I
part
didn't
of,
mean
like,
literally paid. I just meant
but
like-
yeah, but in my community,
You
yeah,
made it
in
make
community, but like
financial
all that money
sense.
would go, all that money would
Right.
go to the board and go to like extra bills and stuff we were doing. So yeah, I literally paid it off. And my wife likes to do math a lot more than me, so she's like, "Yeah, you can get that. That'll work out because it saved it." And then it cut my commute down in the morning, Landon, to like when I leave the train station, jump on the board, 8 minutes. Sometimes 6 minutes, I get to the studio. It'd be like it was like that, like freedom of commute was great. Like I suggest it to anybody that works in the city or you're in a warmer climate, especially if you're West Coast. But New York City, any other big cities, if you can do it in the summertime, it's amazing. It's amazing. I used to get around anywhere in the city. It's better than Uber, better than Lyft. Because I would just do the bike lanes, and the board goes like 20 miles an hour at full speed. So I'm moving.
Every time I see one of those, I think of Charlie.
You know, all I need is a drone to follow me.
Another question from
Yo, Joe,
because we have someone being goofy in the chat, but Landon has another question. Where does Charlie see his career going in 5 or 10 years?
That's a good question. I've been asked that before lately a lot. So I want to keep pushing this whole VR AR thing. Seems like it's going to be a thing that's not just a novelty for businesses like Next Now to profit off of, but actually it seems like it's moving into like way more of a mainstream state in terms of like what VFX did for film. So I want to still keep pushing in this cinematic realm for VR. I would like to get into like post work and stuff like that, and still do more VFX based work for like the broadcast and stuff like that, and get some of those accounts. Because I've already did classes and stuff last year with learning Nuke and stuff like that, and getting into more compositing. That's very lucrative here in the city of Chicago. So having that skill set now will help. I need to I'm putting together a reel the next year or so, and then start doing more freelance work in that, and then kind of mixing, you know. So we'll see where that lands me in terms of that. But it seems like even with the experiential stuff, there's an upper echelon that you can hit once you know certain software and know certain skill sets that makes you more wanted by other places for freelance and stuff. So that's what I'm doing.
Do you see yourself getting into games and movies and stuff like that, or have you found a sweet spot right now?
I still want to do movies in some capacity, but I've come to the point now where if I'm doing something cinematic on that level, like a commercial or something like that, on that level, that's cool. Movies is always a goal I still want to do someday. I don't know how I'll get to that point. We'll see where it takes me. But
well,
for now,
it's going,
games, I don't think so at this point, because I would just the way the climate is, I would need to move. It's game development is dead in the Midwest and in everywhere else besides West Coast and some in the South and Canada.
But the way it's going with movies, I mean, we talked about it at the top of the show, where people are going to be able to get in this truly immersive environment, and people are telling stories within this environment.
Yeah.
So I think you're right on.
Cinematic real-time experience is what I want. So I've been learning a lot of photogrammetry stuff, and there's some other cool stuff that I got planned. You know, so it's really cool.
Cool. And with that, I think we have never done this with any one of us. So this is the very first time that we're gonna do this or that.
Here they come. Here they come, yo. Here they come. Here they come.
This or that. This or that. This or that. This or that. This or that.
We kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, so this might be a little bit of cheating, but whatever. Hey Charlie, art for games or movies?
Movies.
I like where your head's at. VR or touch screen?
VR.
AR or VR.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to be different.
Oh.
No. That was a totally different question. I'm following it up.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm following that up. Now you got to pick between AR and VR.
Wow, Jack, that's a hard one.
They might merge at some point.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what should I say here.
Just call it reality.
I'm gonna go with VR. We'll go with VR.
VR, okay.
nice. Let's see.
That
For
was a
those
hard
of you that don't know, Charlie is from Fort Wayne, Indiana. And so I want to know, would you rather root for the Fort Wayne Tin Caps or the Fort Wayne Comets?
Tin Caps are a new thing. I think that's their minor league baseball team.
Mm-hmm.
Comets is their hockey team
Mm-hmm.
or the mainstay. So I'm gonna go with Comets because I don't know how good the Tin Caps are. No, yeah, let's go with Tin Caps because they're a subsidiary team for MLB league. Okay, let's go with Tin Caps because they push people to the majors.
Have you guys ever been to a hockey game?
I've been to like an amateur one.
Yeah, I haven't been to a real.
Not a
Actually,
pro one.
I have. I've been to what is the Wolves here in that play at Allstate? Is that like
The Wolves are kind of like a
Semi-pro?
minor league team, kind of.
Yeah, so I've been. That's the closest I've been.
Yeah.
Which I watched.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
Okay, so last one for me.
I've got two, so go ahead.
Why don't you go ahead first?
All
'cause
right.
Mine are
So-
dumb.
We know Charlie did a lot of CG stuff with environments.
Mhm.
Do you like interiors or exteriors?
I like.
Big
Wow,
butts.
that's a good one, Jack. I like exteriors.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like exteriors.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a
Okay.
good one. No, that's a good one.
Got any more, Jack?
All right. This is dumb. Being from Indiana,
Oh no.
do you like corn or sugar cream pie? Those are the only two things from Indiana I know.
Yo. Okay. What the hell is sugar cream pie?
Oh no!
I think we just hit a cultural thing right here. What is sugar cream pie? Please tell me about it.
I
What is
think
that?
I think it's like an Amish thing, but it's a pie, and it's like, or I think
sugar cream.
they might call it Hoosier pie or something like that. It's totally Indiana local.
What are you
And
talking
it's
about?
it's like a fluffy sweet, like it's got like cream and eggs and sugar, and it's like it's weird. It's like not quite like, it's almost like a banana cream pie, but like just
I'll answer
with
for Charlie. Sugar cream pie.
Yeah, ain't nobody got time for corn.
Let's try the sugar cream pie. 'Cause that just sounds- Yo, you said banana cream. I understand that one. So if it's just pure like cream, pause. anyway, like yo, I'm gonna call my mom. Like, find me. She goes to the Amish people because they make really good. They make everything really good.
We gotta get you one and get it on the show.
I'm legit going to like pull out one on the show and like show you.
Pause. Here's my last one.
gosh.
Charlie B. Williams,
Yes.
Wendy or Robin Williams.
Robin.
Jeez.
Because Wendy could be like William. I'm sorry, let me stop it.
Michelle.
got big hands. That's all we'll say.
You should have
Big
said
hands.
Serena. You should have said Serena
Yeah, I could
or
have.
Venus, but they're cool. So
Well, there you go. Venus or Serena.
Serena.
Why? Are you going to get in trouble if you answer that one?
What are you talking about? I'm just saying she's coming to her own after she's older.
Monica.
Well, now Serena's beating her sister all the time now. So it's kind of crazy.
That's funny. Cool. That was worth it. I
Thank
like
you.
it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for playing. So
yeah.
that means it's time for
You know what to do?
Yep. I got some heat for you this week.
Uh-oh.
okay.
The Redbeard.
Instagram.com/the_redbeard.
Is
that
he a
what they do?
ginger?
Is that
Is
what
he a
he
ginger?
You got purple hair and red beard.
Listen,
I want to see a picture of this dude.
He's a unicorn.
I'm sure there's one in here somewhere. Possibly. There you go.
There he is.
He does have a
There's the
red beard.
ginger.
He's eating a sugar cream pie.
Yeah, I want to talk to him. Let's get him on the show. He just seems like
I would love to, because
Look
this
at the
dude,
unique character work.
he's dope. He's got really cool, like his signature is draw or die. I like that.
Ooh, that skull
Very-
pencil. That's cool.
Very graffiti like that.
Yeah.
That's
Got a
nice.
little bit of background, I bet.
Little dinosaurs.
Yeah, everything is super cute. The textures, again, I'm a big fan of. His work is just a lot of fun to look at.
Yeah.
Very cool line work, very cool rendering.
He's well
He
rounded.
even gets into 3D. Look
He's
at
the
dead
he's
action.
a unicorn artist. This
Yeah.
is what I look up to, and somebody can do everything like that and render it.
Oh, 360 for that. Oh, hey girl.
Mm,
The hell?
That's creepy.
Oh, hey, mama. This is a
Is it a family
family
portrait?
rendering. I want to get like this. I want to get to the point where people want me, not people, but I get to draw like holiday.
Is this
cards
his
and
family though?
such.
Because that dude literally had a red beard.
I'm sure
Wishing
that's
you a proper holiday.
proper. Yeah. That's them.
I like his 3D work, man. That's a
Yeah.
3D. That was 3D right there, wasn't it? The
Which-
black and white one.
No, I don't think so. I
that
think it's a
drawing.
painting.
No, that's a
Ooh,
rendering.
Look at
Yeah.
the rendering going. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the Catwoman. That's cool.
Yeah. Dude is pretty.
Hey, look at that.
There he is.
I'm in the background.
Look, there's Charlie right there.
Had to do a double take. That's not me.
Wait a minute.
It's that deep.
He's been at
Machine learning.
CTN. I've seen him. I haven't walked up to him. I'm
Oh, there's
shy.
For that.
I'm shy.
That's
See,
great.
look at that's the family. So yeah, go take a look because this dude's stuff.
Yes, look at
That's
that.
a pumpkin thing. Every year I want to get to that point. I've been trying to get to that point.
That's just crazy though.
I just got to go buy the stuff. I really
So,
legit
yeah.
want to learn that. I don't know if you
Oh,
guys know
seems
about-
like he's on ArtStation too.
Matt Thorup.
Is his name Matt Thorpe?
Redbeard.artstation.com.
Does he have
So
more art?
yeah, go take a look. If you're not following this guy, you should be because
As
his
always,
work is
the
so
link-
tight.
CTN too. Yeah.
The link will be in the show notes as always.
You know?
That's awesome. I like that.
So yeah, he's 2D, 3D. There's some more 3D action. Look at that. Oh, thick ass girl. What up, girl?
Crazy.
She's a cartoon.
Oh, damn. Yeah, here's some more 3D work.
Yeah, I've seen that. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, I have seen this art station. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool when people can. I've been studying that when they like these like cartoony pinup style like models and or Pixar Dreamer type of style of character models or whatever you want to call it, the 2D stuff. When they can render that in 3D is always
And keep the same feel, look and
yeah,
feel for it.
yeah. It's always something you think of like bucket list things you try to do.
Mhm.
This dude is like the well-rounded 3D artist that
Yeah.
inspired me. It's cool.
And then we're getting away from the artwork. We're in and out. But yeah, go take a look. Dude is, and it seems like he's got a Gumroad, gumroad.com/redbeard. So yeah, Instagram.com/the_redbeard. Do it.
Nice. Nice.
There you go.
Okay, I'll go since we can save Charlie for the
Okay.
So
Charlie
can
show.
win so Charlie can win the internet.
Mm-hmm. All right. For Charlie in environments, but this is 2D environments.
Jack, I like you.
Doug John Miller. He's an illustrator based in London.
Ooh.
And he loves to do these like isometric environment drawings.
I like this.
There's interiors, exteriors, and I don't think he uses any CG help or any 3D program. It's all drawn because he's got some process videos where this dude is just going to town.
Does Photoshop stuff like?
I haven't been able to. I think so. Yeah, his hashtag is Photoshop, so I guess it is.
Nice.
But
Weird,
he's
like dot brush you made there for.
Yeah, I think he's got different types of like Illustrator, but the things that are really cool are the color, the close-ups on the color zoom in. It's like those old school books you used to read that were like.
How long did it take you to do the roofing tile, dude?
On just that one building.
The weirdest things. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That was the weirdest detail. Like, oh, I don't even want to do that in 3D. Like, oh, like.
But like, I mean, look at this, the full staircase.
This is like that 3D. It makes my head hurt. The 2D stuff. It's
like that just took you so long to do.
Forever.
I know.
I don't want to do that in 3D.
And it's not like, and you look closely, and it's not like he's just being able to repeat things. Like every roof building is different. Every building's roof is different.
Like at least I can copy buildings and then like changing them up.
He's got every ladder is at a different angle, so he can't reuse that. Every roof tile, every building has different roofs. And although like a building may have repeated windows, each other building has different style windows.
And then like how's he doing his like highlight and lighting work? Like all the like scaffolding and like
it's all lit properly. Yeah. Like that's just nuts, man. Like get out of here. Yeah.
Check this guy's stuff out. Let's give me some good inspiration.
So yeah, check. He's definitely done covers for pretty famous magazines. I know, obviously, here's London Magazine. I think he might have done the New Yorker a couple times.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like a New Yorker. I was gonna say New Yorker. Yeah.
And these feel super 3D.
Whoa.
It's vector art, so he's trying something else here. But so yeah, check him out, Doug John Miller. We will drop this link in the show notes.
Which one should I show?
I like it a lot.
We're gonna go. We've had like cool 3D, 2D stuff, so I'm gonna save this one for next week. I'm gonna go the other way with it. All right, cool. So I'm gonna show you mine in a second here. You pull it up so I can get it on both streets. It is good. All right. Here we go. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
The hotness. All right, here we go. Here we go. So this one's another ArtStation classic. And I'm going to share my screen. Dude's name is Anthony Sixto. You seen it yet? Nope.
No.
Let's see it now.
Anthony Sixto.
Yes, Anthony.
Okay,
Sixto.
cool. This guy's a concept artist / visual design.
You think he has more than 5 toes?
Possibly. Lives in the wonderful state of California in Los Angeles. He's close to Jack. He just doesn't know it. So there's a VR game that came out, which is this guy called Lone Echo.
Ooh.
And like in the last 5 or 6 years, we've had a lot of different space type visual effects films or renditions of something space, where we've seen a lot of like takes on Mars, spacesuits, androids, or whatever. And this dude here, I think, has had the coolest concept of a droid that's in a game. So this Lone Echo was a game done by Radiant Dawn Studios. It's the Oculus title. I haven't got to play it yet, but like it's like the droid helps you out. Something goes wrong, as always in space, and you have to figure out, So it's a very like cinematic, episodic, game that you play. But he was the concept artist. So this concept design work on this is a beautiful image. This was my background for a while. Let's pull this up. Look at this lighting on this thing. This is like cool.
Yeah.
Love this guy's stuff. Like very rough painterly style. So go back and look at the link after the show on this one. Look up the game. The game is really cool. Well, let's show you some of this other guy's work. This guy gets busy with his artwork. It's awesome. So that's the one. That's the one for here. But like, I love concept designers and concept designers at game studios too. I'm sure visual designers and the effects are the same way. But when as a 3D artist, as an environment artist, just a 3D guy in general, if I get this in my shared drive or whatever from the concept department, like it's amazing. The level of like thought that goes into each section might not even be looked at. But it's detail for the artist to create. It is awesome. And usually this is the kind of level of like concept that we have to do at work when we're finding reference and stuff and showing stuff too. Also, he has both real world references here on the corner here, where he's kind of giving your thinking, because a lot of times guys can make cool looking concept art and you're like, what the hell is that? It's a squiggle. We talked about the Tex Avery stuff earlier. When giving stuff, but I love that he gives what this is and what the real version of it, and usually probably gave it to him in the person's reference, So he just has a lot of cool space type stuff and got little reference scales. I love looking at all the intricate like notes for each of these things. I haven't found the right bookcase here at home yet, but I have like 3 or 4 bins worth of like art of books and concept art books, because it's like a little expensive hobby of mine that I used to do, especially in college and afterwards. I would drop on one book because I would have books full of this little stuff. And I think maybe that's why I liked environment stuff, because when they got real technical in these little areas, I used to love reading all that little stuff and then putting that detail in, because it just tells the story even better. So it's really cool. This guy's a legit concept artist. Look at this. Like just all the different things. He's even finding like female references of what these girls should look like, or some kind of hybrid form of like, look at this. Like
she an alien?
Yeah, like what is she? Is that's
future human?
But then like I love that he found a real model that kind of fits like what he's trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's the two hybrid versions of this photo reference. I also thought that this guy's take on spacesuits was different too, because a lot of times stuff can start to look the same. I follow a lot of other visual designers that work in film and stuff like that, and you can definitely see trends when it comes to like different people's work. Some people try to copy. They're heavily 3D based. They try to copy their stuff to look like Vitali or look like Ash Thorpe or some other people from other stuff. This guy is like cool because he's totally unique, and that's one of the other things people don't realize about, when you get at these elite like AAA studios, that like they have some crazy same talent, just like the movie industry, in terms of like visual designers and stuff like that. And in game companies at the high level have been hiring more visual designers. We looked at that guy a couple weeks ago that works at Ubisoft. Remember, he took all the pictures, the photography guy, where he took pictures of like Tokyo and then like painted over.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He has a job at Ubisoft as a visual designer, similar to this guy, where he's there to help round out the brand of the story of the game to help tell it better, you know. So he does. He's the same type of deal, but it's just the concept stuff art is really cool. You know, I thought this guy, and then he gets into character stuff and alien stuff. It looks really cool. Look at that stuff. This stuff here, you know, like every page is super detailed, super thought out. You know, references and stuff. I love this one. This one's like ridiculous.
What the what?
You know, like everything is like, and then like for those of you guys who are, check out how he presents his portfolio. You know, like, and this is probably a board he had to present for the game, but like, look at the cues of like, you know, the box behind the character and stuff like that. Look at that stuff on how to, you know, present your own work. Look at this cat. Something wrong with this cat.
He's got one of those halos.
Sebastian the Slumberland Odyssey. What is that? What game is that? Put a dog stuff. This is cool. I didn't even look at all his stuff. I saved it for now. So some of this stuff I'm looking at for the first time. Look at this guy. Every page is like,
That's crazy.
it. So yeah, and this guy's name is Anthony Sixto. And look at that. I'm trying to get through all this stuff.
Nice.
Regular character stuff. He's regal. That dude's been through it. And he still has 3D stuff. Total package, well rounded. He can draw his characters and then make them.
Crazy.
Look at that thing. Oh, this
Well,
is
could
from
you
the-
imagine working on a game and your concept designer go back one, Charlie? Go back two, Charlie. Your designer hands you this, and now you have to build this. You're like, man, get out of here.
Yeah. So this is actually a friend of another friend, and then like he moved out to LA. So he was over at NetherRealm for a while here in Chicago, and he was as a concept artist just putting in work, waiting to blow up.
Yeah, right.
To leave and blow up. Because now I think he has a job at. I want to say he has a job at Blizzard now. That's where he got it. Yeah, my other artist showed me this guy this week. He knows him, and he just started at Blizzard. So
Crazy
Blizzard got
talk.
themselves a good one.
Crazy talk.
Yeah. Look at that. Never ending. Some of this some prop stuff. This is kind of cool. And then like I don't know what you guys, because you guys are the 2D guys. Like I feel like turnarounds are probably really hard to do.
In 2D, yeah.
Yeah, for models. You know, when you're doing this reference
They
to
are.
To be consistent, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the consistency is. I mean, even for really talented artists and guys who can draw, it's keeping the consistency is probably the toughest part.
And having a nice side view and 3/4 view is really
Yeah.
nice. But when he goes all the way around, like for this guy stuff here, that I actually know, like Lion Time 10, I would only get this here. But he actually did the back too, to kind of, you know, and gave you.
Yeah, I mean these are really good model sheets because the type of stuff that even the TV guys that I work with do is way less detailed than this.
Yeah.
So is that him being a really good concept artist, or is that him being a control freak?
Probably a little bit of both.
I said
As
three
an art
row.
director, though, I'm trying to make sure this dude is as happy as possible.
Right.
Because you'll feel if he's not there anymore, you know?
Yeah.
He has to find more people to do this that have the same attention to detail. And then, like, obviously, I like him more because he started showing environment stuff. So it seemed like he could just do whatever. Sometimes guys only do characters or whatever. I think concept art, you need to be able to do a lot of different stuff. And I still love this like design here. This makes me want to model something. I haven't wanted to model these concept art in a while. I randomly saw to look at so much stuff, but this is a kind of a cool little speeder type deal.
You could model a dog attack.
I could. If we want to. Cool, that's it. I think we hit the end. So yeah, that's Anthony, guys. Check him
Awesome.
out. Get him in your life.
Yeah.
He's amazing, man.
People like that just amaze me to no end.
Oh yeah, I didn't follow him, so I'm following him now. And I'll give the link. It'll be in the show notes. Thanks, guys.
Perfect. Cool. Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
With that being said,
Yeah.
Charlie, if people want to find you online, where can they look?
You can find me on my website, which is carlocollective.com/Charlie B. Williams. I'm on Instagram, CharlieBW3. I spend a lot more time on Instagram. Twitter, CBW3. Tweet at me there. Almighty Pinterest, CharlieBW3 on Pinterest. I add stuff every day. I've been going hard lately, so there's some really cool stuff. There's also a tutorial section on there too of finding stuff I find, stuff like that. If you're looking for resources, go there. Get it in your life.
Beautiful. Hey, Jack, where can people find you?
They can find me at sketchbookjack.com and sketchbookjack on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest.
Excellent. I'm Carlos. You can find me at coconutjustice.com, Coconut Justice everywhere else. This is Sketch Zone. If you're watching on Twitch or YouTube, go ahead and click the subscribe. And they have a new thing where you have to click the little alarm bell and it'll let you know when we go live so you can join us, a lot like Landon Wilson did. He threw in a couple questions. Thank you, Landon. We're looking forward to seeing your Sketch Zone fun prompt. Sketch Zone fun prompt for the week is a dog attack. Yeah, that's enough about the drawing stuff. I asked you guys to subscribe, so feel free to do that. If you want to catch up on all of the other episodes, because this is episode 132.
Mhm.
Yep, we are 132.
132.
32.
Wow. If you want to catch up on all the other ones, you can go to sketch.zone, and from there you'll be able to see all of our social media links. It's links to YouTube, to SoundCloud, to Facebook, all that stuff. You can find us on Instagram.com/SketchZonePodcast. And if you do the Sketch Zone fun prompt, tag us, and then we'll share. Landon said, great episode. Good to finally hear what Charlie does. Basically, Charlie does everything. So yeah, tag us on Instagram, and then we'll share that artwork. So we like to just share everyone's art and take a look at it every week on the show, live on the show. But if you can't catch us live, obviously we're available on Twitch, we're available on YouTube, but we're also available on Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play Music, and iTunes. Did I forget anything? I think that's it. So everyone have a wonderful week.
Yeah, thanks,
Hey,
guys.
Yeah.